Okay. Good afternoon, and welcome to the November 12th special meeting of council. The city of Parksville recognizes the people of the Coast Nations and their traditional territory upon which we gather with gratitude. Before we begin today with this slight adjustment to the agenda, we have one amendment to the agenda. To remove item 1. Do I have a mover seconder for the recommendation that agenda item 2B regarding the transportation master plan be removed from the agenda and deferred to a committee of the whole meeting during the November 17th regular council meeting, and that the November 12th special council meeting agenda be approved as amended? Moved by Councillor Wood, second by Councillor Beal. All those in favor? Thank you. That carries. So, big special day. It's nice to have so many people in the audience. Really appreciate you all showing up today. We have a delegation up front. We have one delegation today from the BCAA Evolve e-bike and e-scooter share program. A presentation by Dee Holzer of BCAA regarding a proposal to bring the Evolve e-bike and e-scooter share program to Parksville. Come on up, if you would please, and introduce yourself when you get here. That'd be great. Yeah, right in one of those chairs, and if you can move the microphone over closer to you. They're not wired, so you can move it right up close. Appreciate that.
Hello, is that
There
better?
you go. So far, so good.
Excellent. I love it when we pass the technology part of the presentation.
I expected you to ride your bike down here.
I did not today,
Oh, too
but I will in the future. Well, thank you very much. My name is David Holzer. I am the business development manager for BCAA's Evolve e-bike share program. Can we move the slides?
Yeah, yes. Do we have this slide presentation, Amanda? Here you go.
Oh, perfect. I will. Okay.
There you go.
So Evolve, if you are not familiar, has been launched by BCAA back in 2021, 2022 range. And it was another program that BCAA put out to enhance people's mobility and to attract people to BCAA that may not own a car or be a driver. BCAA, as you may or may not know, is about 120 years old now. It was started by 11 people in Victoria back in 1906, and it has now grown to be in almost in half the households in British Columbia. We operate Evolve here in 13 municipalities across BC, making us one of the largest bike share and e-scooter share providers now in British Columbia. Last year, we grew quite substantially with expansions to Saanich, Langford, the North Shore, North Vancouver, West Vancouver district of North Vancouver. Our shared mobility experience dates back to Evo Car Share, which is our bigger brother or sister, which launched way back in 2015 and operates all through the Lower Mainland and in Victoria. And then the big thing about BCAA is that we are a BC-based company. We are a not-for-profit. We give back over $2 million annually to BC communities around the province. So these programs that we put out are to attract more people to BCAA, which helps us give back to the community. All right. Nope. Thank you. How does it work? So we're here today to propose to you guys to bring e-bike and e-scooter share program to Parksville. We operate in Nanaimo, just down the road, and we were looking at Parksville, and we were approached by some members of the community to bring this program here. And we kind of looked into it and thought it'd be a really good idea. Our program is basically a station-based but dockless parking zone system. So we do not allow the bikes and scooters to just park anywhere in the communities. We find specific areas and we then geofence them to those areas to ensure that the bikes and scooters start and stop only in these approved spaces. So we create a system of parking zones throughout your community, and those parking zones act as the places where people can start and end their trips. The great thing about our devices is that they do not require any heavy infrastructure. We can set these parking zones up rather with very low infrastructure. I'll get into what the bikes and the scooters have later, but they have a bunch of features that allow us not to have to recharge them or use any major infrastructure on the ground to set this up. So what we envision for Parksville is around 50 to 70 devices to start, a mix of e-scooters and e-bikes, and approximately 13 parking zones throughout the city. We see some interesting abilities to connect like the southern part of Parksville to the main part of Parksville and so forth with the western part to the, I guess, eastern part. I always get that confused when I'm on the island. We operate our customer service is based in Burnaby and it operates 24/7. And one of the things that makes our program successful in the station-based environment is this idea of a stopover. So this is a function on our bikes that allows people to stop over when there's no parking zone nearby and they want to do something. So I still can't get this. This is all controlled by the app. I'm going to do it. I figured it out now. It's still not working. Our app basically runs the whole program. So it's an app-based program on your cell phone, and you can do registration, which gets you instant approval. You can find the bikes, you can find the parking, you can start your trip, end your trip. And then we have appropriate safety messages to try and encourage people to ride safely, ride by the rules in the community, and they have to acknowledge those before they even start their trip. And then while on the trip, as I said, trips can only begin in geofenced areas. We can also create slow and no ride zones for sensitive areas in the community where you don't want to see our bikes or scooters. We manage all of it. So we manage if a bike gets left outside of a parking zone, if a bike gets stolen or vandalized. We have a team. Usually we partner with a bike shop in the local area, or we'll use our own staff that will manage the bikes. And we'll visit these bikes on a near daily basis in the peak parts of the season and then come down as the seasons are either ramping up or ramping down. So as I mentioned, our customer support, it's 24/7, 365 days a year with a staffed call center here in British Columbia. So it's not like you're having to reach out by email. You can talk to someone for immediate assistance. We also have a chat function for those who want to text back and forth, but you get an agent right away. This call center is well trained and actually is the backbone of making sure our service works well in a community. It is well trained to basically respond to any incident within 30 minutes and move resources out within that period of time. So say one of our bikes or e-scooters has been abandoned somewhere and it's in a particular sensitive spot, we can have someone moving towards that within 30 minutes to get that fixed. So a map always helps bring it to life. And this by no means is anything near final. This is just a conceptualization of what we're thinking regarding how we would service Parksville for year one. And before I go too much further, we are a group that enters a city very conservatively. We take on a smaller footprint in the first year. This way we can control the devices. We can work on making sure the community accepts the service. We don't put too many devices into the city. We come at it with a small approach for the first year. And then in this, based on the results we get in that first year, we start about phase 2 in year 2 and 3. So for Parksville, we see it as a seasonal deployment. We don't think we'll operate year round, not that we can't, but in the first year, we'll definitely operate just as a spring, summer, early fall. And as you can see, we're concentrated on kind of moving people, I guess, north to south, more specifically, and also looking at your density, trying to tie into your already what you have for active transportation infrastructure. And those are kind of the key considerations that we're looking at. What are the major points of interest that people want to get to? what type of transportation problems can we solve with the system? How can we lure more people maybe to ride into the downtown core rather than drive their car? So our infrastructure light approach is what I want to talk about. So this is mainly examples from Nanaimo. We are big fans of wayfinding signage at our parking zones. We feel that we're absolutely asking people to rely on the app to tell them where to park doesn't get you the best results. So we believe in at least having at a bare minimum a signpost that says this is where you park your bike or scooter. You can also see that we use bike racks in areas where we're particularly concerned about how people may park, though the bike and the scooters don't need a bike rack. It is a good visual as to where to park. And then finally, we can also use applications like painting, or we use a lot of times more of a street tape that can be removed quite easily to create a box that ensures people kind of park within those limits. So those are the types of parking zones, and why we like this is flexible. So if we go out and we find these parking zones, but we hear from the community for one reason or the other, something we may not have thought of, that it needs to move in some way, it's a lot easier. If we're them putting in huge chunks of infrastructure, it gets a little harder for us to move them. And in the first year, we really like that flexible approach because we get the feedback from the community and we can make adjustments quite easily. As we go on in time, we might add more permanent infrastructure, especially to stations that are quite popular. So this is the bike. So some of the key features, and I'm sorry, I didn't provide also the e-scooter. So I'm going to talk you through the e-scooter and show you the bike. Some of the key features that make the system work, and I'm going to start right at the bottom with the dual kickstand. It's an incredibly powerful piece of equipment for us, and it's on both of our devices. And this allows us not to have a docking station. This allows us not to have to worry too much about the ground that we put the bike on. So we can use, like, obviously our ideal is concrete, but we can also put it on like semi-hard surfaces such as gravel. Some of our stations are on grass. So we can do this because of that dual kickstand, and it holds the bike up, and it's very good at keeping the bike upright. We have very few incidents of tipped over bikes in our system. Everything else is a little secondary to that, but the next big thing is the battery. You'll see the battery pack, and it's the same on the e-scooter, is swappable. So this allows us to take the battery out, charge it at a separate facility at a warehouse somewhere, and then bring a freshly charged battery to the bike. So thus we don't need any infrastructure for charging our bikes at a station. The other big feature of the bike is that it's pedal assist only. So it's very easy to operate. There's no gears, there's no throttles. You simply get on the bike, you start riding, and the pedal assist takes you away. Finally, from the safety side, you'll see that it's got a ton of reflectors, lights on the front and back. And what's not shown here is that in the basket of the front is a helmet, and it also has an IoT device that alerts us whether the helmet's there or not. So we can then see from our headquarters how many bikes need helmets, if helmets are missing, and we can go out and replenish them. So those are the key features of the bike. I'll say, like, there's a QR code that people scan on their app. That's how they can start the trip. And then there's a speedometer that shows them how fast they're going. So these are all of it. The brakes are standard brakes, just like anywhere else. And the bikes finally are self-locking. So the front wheel locks and the rear hub locks as well. And that's how we secure the bike when it's not on a trip. The bikes are a bit heavy. They're about 90 pounds. So they're a little hard to move when the wheels are locked. For the e-scooter, all the same things, except it's not pedal assist. There is a throttle. It has all the same kind of safety features, but the big thing about the e-scooter, and one of the reasons we like it at BCAA, is that it has a 12-inch front tire and a 10-inch back tire. And why the tire is so important is because the size of the tire makes it able to go across terrain, uneven, potholes, anything like this, a lot easier and safer. The other thing that it has is turn signals, so that people don't have to take their hands off the e-scooter in order to signal to someone which way they're going. All right. So pricing, what does it look? What does it cost like? Our regular rates are $1.25 plus 35 cents a minute. Just to give you a sense of what that means, most of our trips are under 20 minutes long. So they're moving from one place to another. So they're quite affordable. If people are using us on a more significant basis, quite honestly, if they're using us 4 or 5 times and even in a single day, they can do our subscription rate, which is $9.99 and 10 cents a minute. And that actually is for a whole month, but you could use it as a day pass or a week pass. It doubles it. It gives you this low rate of 10 cents a minute. And finally, for underprivileged communities, we partner with community-based organizations to bring an inclusive mobility program, which is 10 cents a minute, plus the unlocking fee to people that qualify. And so we bring these programs into the communities that we serve as a way of providing access to all. And I think I'm running out of time. So the last thing we'll talk about is, like, obviously we're BCAA, we're very community focused. One of the things we don't do is just bring our bikes here, drop them on the ground and let them do the work for us. We are committed to being part of the community. We'll be part of your community events. We'll organize safety education. We'll work with community partners to be at their events as well. We've also engaged with more than just the Tsleil-Waututh Nation, but also the Squamish Nation, the Comox Nation up in Courtenay and Cumberland, to work with them to do engagement with their community. What you see on the screen is a collaboration we did up in Whistler with the SLCC, which is the Squamish Lillooet Nations. One of their artists designed our rear fitting for us. So that's, I think, my time. I didn't want to go over 10 minutes. I was moving pretty quick. But yes, that's what we propose, is what we'd like to do, is work with staff, obviously, to bring a bike share program here for next spring, and see and sort of bring more people to using alternate transportation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. We're pretty excited. I guess I should say we're pretty pumped about getting this service to our community, and we're very appreciative of the fact that you're considering Parksville as one of your partners on this program. Well, I just wanted some questions I had just of note. You talked about charging the batteries. How are the batteries charged, or like, I was unclear on, you said they're quickly removable battery and then your team can go down and replace the batteries, but how are they actually charged themselves?
Yeah, so at this stage, what we'll probably do is use the facility we have in Nanaimo, and that we would probably run them back and forth to Nanaimo to charge them at a warehouse. They just plug into a wall. They're really quite easy to recharge.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so what our teams do is that we'll come back and forth. We'll taking out batteries that are low of charge, which we can see on our system, and replacing them with fully charged batteries, and then go charge those batteries for some other. They're all swappable and they all can work on any of our devices. Interestingly enough, the batteries can't work anywhere else but on our devices.
Good. And then your batteries, like on a full charge, roughly how many minutes do you get out of that?
Yeah, so it's not so much minutes as kilometers, depending on how the type of rider and the number of times they want to go up a hill or down hills.
Okay.
It's about 70 to 90 kilometers.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
yeah. The scooter is
good.
slightly less. It's like 40 to 50.
Okay.
But that's because with a pedal assist, you're obviously providing some power, less strain on the battery.
Right. And the other question I had, you mentioned that it was a seasonal situation that you're planning on starting with, the spring, summer, winter. So the bikes would not be, or scooters would not be available in the winter. Is that correct?
Currently, that's like our thinking, but we're kind of open to exploring a year-round deployment. But like, I think in year one, that's sort of the thought process.
Yeah. Fair enough. And Nanaimo, do you have them in Nanaimo as well?
Yes, and we run year round there.
Right, and they run year round.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. That's so just as a pilot or as the startup, the 3 seasons anyways were a little better weather. Okay. And the other question I was going to say, for your locations where you park the bikes and scooters, I saw your map. It was unclear. Just want to let you know or be aware of the fact, maybe it's already been brought to your attention by our staff, that Moti are planning a accessible, safe, active transportation route from basically the Rath-Trevor turnoff, where the log cabin store is, all the way to the Orange Bridge. They've done phase 1, and phase 2 will be done. We already have the plans here. That's all been approved by our staff anyways. We'll have an active transportation route going down that road right to the Orange Bridge. So that has been a real inaccessible area, you know, for safe egress. But the 2 phases will be complete by this summer, next summer for 2026. So if you're having some of your parking stops at the other end by Resort Drive to take advantage of the resort traffic that's going to be coming in, they're now going to have a safe way that they can get down that strip of highway and over the Orange Bridge, and then they can get on the other side where it's a lot less hazardous. So that should be brought to your attention anyways. It's all part of our active transportation initiatives, and so we're pleased that Ministry of Transport have finally recognized that as a real disadvantage anyways for anybody walking or riding bikes. So that's coming.
This is really great. We're huge fans of active transportation infrastructure, as you know. Our e-scooters are not allowed on Modi right away unless there is a bike lane. So this sounds great.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's on the way. Council, open it up for discussion or questions to David while he's here. Councillor Grant, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good afternoon.
You're the hard
I'm
one.
all the way over here. You're gonna have to crank your neck. Talk to your chiropractor after. Thank you very much for the presentation. That was amazing. This sounds really, really exciting as a possibility for Parksville. Obviously, this would be great for tourism, but also just for folks living here year round. I'm curious sort of how this works for those who are very young. So what do you need in terms of access to be able to use this if you're, say, 11 or 12, or is there an age that you have to be in order to use the service? And then thinking on the other side of the spectrum, folks with mobility challenges, have you contemplated any mobility scooters as part of your fleet? Where are you at with that? Thank you.
Okay, so by law, the scooter program and the e-bike program can only be offered to, I think, as low as 16, and 16 comes with some caveats. So that's provincial. It has to be a different type of bike. So for us, everybody has to be the age of majority in BC. That's 18. You have to have a credit card. So for that younger demographic, unfortunately, there's not a great solution at this time. With the e-scooter pilot, they have actually specifically called out seated e-scooters as not being allowed in British Columbia. So while those exist and they're out there, today, according to the province, we couldn't bring those into service. So sorry, we're a little bit handcuffed.
Okay, maybe one follow-up then. I don't think our community is one of them, maybe just Qualicum Beach, that has permitted use of golf carts, at least, though.
Oh,
that's something to get into.
Yeah,
I think it's
good.
like Kelowna or something, and Qualicum Beach, I think, have the exception there.
Yeah, golf cart share.
Go ahead, Councillor Wood.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks so much for the presentation. This slow ride zone, is that kind of controlled electronically through the app?
Yeah, it's geofencing
Sure.
technology that allows us. It's the same technology we use to make sure people park the bike inside of a parking zone or not. So I'll explain both. So slow ride zones will create a digital kind of perimeter of where we don't want the bikes. The bikes only go 25 kilometers an hour. And same with the scooters. So generally speaking, we don't use this technology too often, but in truly sensitive areas where you have a lot of like conflict with pedestrians and stuff, where you think it's really appropriate that we bring the speed down, we can bring the speed down by geofencing. So once the device enters and it reads that it's in this zone, it'll slow the motor down. On a bike, it functions quite differently because you can still pedal, but on the scooter, it's quite effective at bringing it down to the right speed. And then on the parking zone, same thing applies. Like if you don't park or the bike in the parking zone, then you can't end your trip. So effectively you're paying, which is a strong kind of penalty for not following the rules.
Follow.
Does the app get the user to agree to, I don't know, say not be on sidewalks, or what does the user agree to? It does.
Yeah, so once they sign up, they agree to our terms and conditions with
Mhm.
outline how you can ride. And then our safety message, which we put before you can take a trip.
Mhm.
We can highlight, we can bold things, we can make really things stand out. So things like no sidewalk, ride with a helmet, you
Mhm.
know, obey all street rules, that kind of thing,
Okay.
are all put in there. So, and then just to layer on top of that, because it's easy to ignore like some safety screen on an
Mhm.
app, is that we will go out into the community at community events. We do a safety based kind of community event where we talk about rules and how to ride and try and educate riders, but we also educate like the general public about what we're doing. So there might be a lot of people in Parksville that might not use our devices,
Mhm.
but have a lot of questions. And we use those events as a way to communicate with them and try and take some of the burden off of, quite honestly, your staff and yourselves of having to answer all these questions.
Sure. I have more, but if there's anyone else, you can.
Go ahead, Councilor Beal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Dave, for the presentation. Really interesting. And I must compliment you on the sticker on your laptop.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Those who didn't see it, helmet hair, don't care. I confess that that sometimes gets in the way of me using my bike, which is really all up here, I know. I have a couple of questions. One, could you speak a little bit more about the stopover, what that means exactly? And so I presume people could do a bit of shopping or stop or go and visit a site, and that would be an issue if you could explain.
Yeah, so the stopover, because we use station-based programs, obviously we're not always going to have a station exactly where someone wants to go.
Mhm.
So the stopover is effective at using giving that person a way of locking the bike. They're still paying, they're still renting the bike, but they can lock it and then go do something. Generally, how we see stopovers look is because they're paying, they're just doing something quick, like they're stopping at a store or something to pick something up on their way. But it has been used, it is quite used quite frequently. It is actually probably our fleet team's biggest source of getting inquiries because people do stopovers and then people are like, wow, I saw one of your bikes like parked in the middle of nowhere for a bit. So which is why we bring it up, because that is a case that can happen. You will see our bikes maybe not always in a parking zone or about being ridden, and mostly it's because people are using a stopover.
Follow up, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Yes, I can picture also the questions from our counselor here about slow zones. I can picture down on the boardwalk, that being one of them. But my question is about what sort of involvement would you need with our staff in order to bring this to Parksville?
Yeah, thank you for that question. The involvement is quite minimal. We do try and do like the vast majority of the work. So we'll go out and scout potential sites that we think could be used as a parking zone, but we will need to work with staff to ensure that that is an appropriate site. And that is on public lands and that there's nothing scheduled for that, like in 6 to 12 months, and all these different factors that come into play with where we put our parking zones. So we'll work with staff closely on that. We'll work with them on basically updating them with our progress of our program, how we're going to launch it, some of the events we'll do. We'll give them feeds to data. So the staff will have all this information about how our system's being used, the trips, where people are riding to and from. So they'll have a lot of information at their side provided by us that they can get whenever they need it. They'll also just need to help us sort of get those parking zones cited and work with us on our contract, obviously, with you guys to ensure that we have the rights to use that space.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Now, so in the municipalities and cities where you have this program set up, so is there a fee that is going to the city, to the municipalities for the use of this space, or is there generally provided free of charge, or what's the arrangement there? Think about liabilities and all that sort of wonderful stuff that
Oh,
comes
yeah.
with running a city.
You know, it is quite varied how cities have approached sort of allowing us access. Because we're a not-for-profit some cities have recognized that we're a not-for-profit and have provided our space like free of charge. Or with very minimal charges. It kind of depends on some of the charters that cities have around how they are allowed to use public space. Generally, what we would tell you is that we can't, bike share systems, especially in their first few years, are really tough business models, and that we will need time to build this out, and that we would appreciate if the city, charged us very minimal fees, if at any at all. What was the second part of your question? Oh, the legal stuff. Yes, we've thought about all the legal stuff, and we'll follow generally all cities have kind of a boilerplate of like insurance requirements and indemnification and things like this. So,
Okay, first time speakers still. Sylvia Martin, Councilor Martin, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, David, for the presentation. I'm a lifetime member of BCAA, so yeah, there's a few of us around. I started when I was 18, and they gave it to me when I got a little older. And so I really like it. What I wanted to mention to you was in Nanaimo, you have your facility there. Are you going to be using what they use for the cars? The same company, like the same facility, like going to pick up? Because I had an incident in Nanaimo and I had to have BCAA come and help me, and they came very quickly. And so is it the same service, or is it totally separate from the auto section of BCAA?
okay, yeah, I understand your question. So yeah, it is separate. We
Okay.
have separate staff and separate teams that work on this. But in a true emergency situation, we are all BCAA, and we can always call our partners to help us out. Quite honestly, there hasn't been one yet that we've had to like rely on our greater organization to help us out. And we don't, like, unless it's like a true public emergency, really see a need. Our teams are quite qualified to manage the day-to-days and all the different wild and wonderful things that might happen to our devices.
Yeah, I think it's a very progressive move. I'm very excited about it too. So thank you. Thank you.
Councilor Franz, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. And through our mayor to David, appreciate your coming out here today for this presentation. It's really nice to see. I definitely think the color scheme of Evolve is complementary to City of Parksville for sure. It looks like it's something that would blend in well for us. I'm interested a lot in a pilot project happening here and what kind of information that you're able to deliver after a pilot project for us. So I'm curious, are you able to do things like heat mapping to see where the most of the rides are happening, or the scooter rides and bike rides?
Yes. So we operate on these two, and this is technical, so don't get too worried about it, but we operate with these two data feeds that are mandated kind of in the industry called MDS and GBFS. So these are standardized data platforms that pump out our information about our bikes. We then provide access to a third-party aggregator that we use that will then give you incredible amounts of data. Like the data that these bikes provide is like a fire hose. And we can give you information about what streets they rode on, what times of days. Like we can give you trip information and geospatial analysis. So it can be quite powerful, especially helping, what we've seen with our other partners is helping staff with assumptions, like nailing down assumptions they already had about certain areas, because then we can show another layer of data that says, like, this is how this street is being used. Maybe you're planning active transportation infrastructure on it. That's what we're always advocating for. So maybe it's like we're seeing this is how people, and it also shows absence of data, right? Like if people aren't riding somewhere, and why aren't they riding with that way? Because that might be the fastest way to get to and from somewhere. And it doesn't make sense why they're missing it. What's going on? That can be helpful.
Does it provide any user data as far as if they're locals or from out of town?
I mean,
where the registration is from?
There's a lot of rules around providing personal information that we have to follow. And so, but we can give you guys a sense of how many people are local and how many people are visitors. We can't give you like user level data, but we can give you like some percentages. And we do surveys every year of our ridership, and then we'll present those surveys to staff to show them what's sort of going on.
As well, do you have to be a BCA member to use this, or is it's independent of it? If they sign up, it's not the membership.
Yeah, it's independent. We do not, this is a way to get people more familiar with BCAA. So it's like kind of a way for more younger people, people that don't own cars to like come to be a part of the auto club, the BCAA organization.
I'll pass it
Okay.
on for now. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And before I go to second speakers, I was just going to mention that our CAO has already met with David and his crew anyways. CAO Kaler, if you could just comment, this is not a surprise to our CAO. We didn't do this. The CAO Kaler has already checked to see if there's any red flags that came with it. CAO Kaler, if you can just comment on your conversations and any concerns, or if you're satisfied that this would meet the needs of Parksville.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I think I mentioned to a few councillors that I tried very hard to find something that might not work out, and David had all the answers. I think we're benefiting from the fact that this is in place in many other cities already. So a lot of the possible items that might have been concerns are already addressed and have been worked out elsewhere. Especially, I think if council is looking at this as a pilot, which is what we discussed, I see very little risk at all. We met with David with the reps from the PDBA and the Parksville Qualicum Tourism Association and felt that it would be a great addition. It might not all have to be on city property, but the impact for city property is very minimal. David even expressed that if there's a place where we have space, but we don't want to paint, there's options to have like stickers and things that are completely removable with no impact whatsoever. There's very little, we don't need to be plugged in. So there's just very little challenge. It's a very small amount of space, like 10 square meters, I think we talked about. So, and it can be in the middle of a field really, if you needed it to be. So, there was no concerns from the staff perspective. I checked in with a couple of our directors and we went over the program as well, and we didn't see any issues. Quite a small amount of staff time just to kind of maybe help out with where the locations would be. And then it's fairly self-sufficient. So we thought from a tourism and just given our demographic and our challenges with some consistent transit, that we thought this would be a great way to meet some of those gaps. We also have a lot of policies in our existing OCP and other documents around active transportation. And so that ticked all of those boxes as well. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you for those comments. Councillor Wood, second time around, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. You and Kiva kind of stole my question, but I was going to ask, with a town of our size, a city of our size, and kind of the layout, kind of maybe the one issue that you might see pop up for us. Maybe it's just a lack of usage at the beginning for people to get used to it. I'm just kind of trying to see, and I think you already chatted with staff about it, but what might you see as being an issue that might pop up for us? And maybe there's nothing. I don't mean to wreck your presentation either, but I just try to go into things that I'm excited about cautiously. So
I think we're relatively excited about Parksville. I think we see that while residents might take a bit to warm up to it, that the tourist population will probably cover that. That's a real common practice in these types of systems. As we lure residents into using them, the tourism sector kind of lays over top of it. That's why we're saying mostly for a seasonal deployment, because we're not 100% sure how we'll get all the residents on. My cousin lives here, so I got a little bit of a lowdown on how Parksville is going, and I was here for a large portion of today, and I've been here a few times before, but like there are like in certain parts of downtown, I noticed that the space is a bit limited. So putting a parking zone here, there in the ideal location might be a little bit tricky. So we'll have to work a little harder to find good spots, like especially in some of the more confined spaces but at the same time, when I see that, I also see these great kind of walking paths and these trails being developed. So I think there's a lot of like opportunity there. So we're not too We're not too worried about adoption, especially in the first year. It's a lot about awareness. And year two, we start really thinking about adoption heavily.
Councillor Beal?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And yes, one thing I was wondering about is in terms of selecting locations, and you've obviously given that some thought already, is that I would imagine that there needs to be adequate, or ideally there would be adequate vehicle parking nearby because of the distance. Like, I'm just thinking if I was local, then I have to get to a place where I can pick up one of these bikes and then use something. And so is that a consideration when you're looking for docking spots for the bikes, or I should say parking spots?
The considerations for parking spots are points of interest. Like, where do people want to go? Where are people trying to get to? How can we get people to there? Quite frankly, better than driving their own car is kind of how we really look at it. Like, this provides us a better opportunity to get you to from one place to the other than driving your own car, and it could be relatively affordable. So that's how we look at it. We actually don't really look at it in any other light than like, is this going to service a lot of people, and it doesn't serve an opportunity to solve a problem? So like, for example, like and I'm going to mess this up and I apologize, but your community park along the waterfront there is probably a bit challenging to access by a car, but it'll be really great if we can put like a bike station kind of in the center of the park, really close to where people want to go when they go to that park. As an alternative for getting there. And maybe that'll be more interesting to use that than drive your own car. That's sort of the thought process that we use.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna wind this up. We have a waiting crowd out there,
Yeah.
council. Any other pressing comments you have at this time? Okay, I was going to ask if there's any desire for a notice of motion or a motion actually put on the floor from the floor today. Councillor Frez, do you have something you wish to propose?
Yes, thank you. Did prepare a motion here that should, I think it was handed out to everybody, get a copy of it there. Yeah. So I'll read out the motion. It's the council approve a 3-year pilot project with Evo that would allow the city property to be used for parking and rental of Evo e-bikes and e-scooters in Parksville at locations to be evaluated by staff considering public safety, vandalism risks, accessibility, minimal impact on city operations, and convenience for users.
Thank you. I'd second that motion and we'll bring it to discussion. Councillor Frez, if you speak to that.
So yeah, just speaking to this then, the idea behind this though too, when I mentioned involving the staff, is that there is expectation there too, that they would connect with the PDBA, Parksville Qualcomm Tours Association, to be able to just get their insight or input on that as well. Let them know what we have kind of planned here, although I think that I can see some people in the audience here today that will get a good idea of that. So the 3-year pilot project, I mentioned that on there as well, because as you heard, they kind of go through that stage approach of bringing it into. And so I think it takes a little bit of time to really get the metrics down and know what we're going to be looking at here. So yeah, I'll just leave it at that for now.
Thank you. And any other discussion regarding the motion on the floor? Okay, all those in favor? It carries unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, David, for your presentation and once again, explaining so carefully. If we have any other questions, we have your contact information that we can contact you in the meantime. Now that this has been approved by council type of thing, so the goal is to be up and running for spring 26. Is that correct? Thank you. Looking forward to it. Thank you. Council, moving forward, we have the committee of the whole to go to. Do I have a mover or seconder for the recommendation that this council do now resolve itself into a committee of the whole? I have a mover or seconder for that, please. Moved by Councillor Beal, seconded by Councillor Martin. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. It carries. We are now in committee of the whole. Thank you. We have the community organization presentations at this time. We have 8 presentations today. The first presentation is from the Parksville Beach Festival Society for an annual funding request, a presentation by Cheryl Dale regarding the annual funding for the Parksville Beach Festival Society. You have 5 minutes, Cheryl, and I think you know how to operate the microphone and so forth. You move it around if you like. Go ahead. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and hello, everyone else on council. And Amit, up north, nice to see your face. I am Cheryl Dill, and I'm very grateful to be here. Thank you very much to the staff for enabling us to be organized and be ready to present for this grant and aid opportunity, which we're very grateful for. I think it's wonderful that the City of Parksville does this. I want to introduce Nancy Fowler, who's one of our directors as well on Parksville Beach Festival Society. And I'm really pleased to be here in concert with Nancy. I know that the City of Parksville Mayor and Council is familiar with Parksville Beach Festival Society, but I'd love to be able to just give a quick overview and just highlight some aspects of our application, and then be available for answers to any questions that you may have. So Parksville Beach Festival Society is very grateful to be here in the city of Parksville and serving the region of Central Vancouver Island. And we recognize the value of our work closely with the city of Parksville and have been very grateful for that support. We have been a not-for-profit society since the year 2000. Although sand sculpting has been happening on the beach since 1982, and some of you may have been here for that. And we're really proud of our purpose. And I just to highlight our purposes for what we do so that you understand the lanes that we cycle in, to use that pun. Great presentation earlier, by the way. So our focus is to enhance community engagement, and we do have a lot of community engagement through our activities by planning and hosting various events in the park along the seaside and beautiful Parksville Community Park. We want to showcase artistry every year and talent from Vancouver Island and beyond. We also want to ensure that our events are family-friendly, affordable, and inclusive, and respectful of the environment. Those things are very important to us. We want to contribute to the enhancement and sustainability of Parksville Community Park. That's a jewel in this community, as you all know, and we're very, very grateful to be able to use the lands there for that. And where appropriate, we love partnering and supporting other philanthropic groups and not-for-profit organizations in order to benefit our local community. And we're really proud of that work that we've done there. Just in thinking about the past year, we're very grateful to have had another successful event, a festival season where we saw over 119,000 people come into the sand sculpting exhibition. And very grateful for all of the sponsors that we were able to engage for that. Our title sponsor being Quality Foods for yet another year. They've been so generous with our event, along with I think almost 100 other sponsors, being businesses as well as grants and donations that we receive. And we've been very grateful to the City of Parksville for its contributions as well, last year and previous years as well. We are able to engage this year the most volunteers that we've had for this supporting the sand sculpting event, and that was over 168 volunteers. And that's through an application process where philanthropic groups that are also, not for profit and that serve this region, also Qualicum Beach, Bowser, Nanoose, Arrington. Those groups serve as gate ambassadors. And so they offer over 168 volunteers to contribute to that welcoming of 119,000 plus visitors and helping them understand what we're all about here in Parksville and the type of hospitality that we deliver. It's a huge boost to community pride to have this event, to have the event involve volunteers. And the recognition for the City of Parksville and our community on a provincial, national, and also global level. Um, our event puts Parksville on the map in a big way. It is a celebration of art and it inspires interest in art. I don't know if you've come to the beach and you've seen the families learning how to sculpt with some of the pros on that opening weekend. We engage a lot of activity and people have a lot of fun learning about sand sculpting and what they can do to create art of the sand. Our society pays it forward. As I mentioned, we make an annual donation. Is that a timer for me? Okay, my lunch is ready. I'll say I'm almost done, Mr. Mayor, if I may have another minute.
Go for it.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. This year, we donated $88,000 to these philanthropic groups, which puts our total donation since we existed as a society to over $1 million. So we're really, really grateful, over 1.1 actually. So our community impact is over 25 million annually. So we appreciate the support from the city of Parksville. With that $7,500 that we're asking for, we want to recognize the city's contribution, and it helps us with event expenses that sadly don't decrease annually. They tend to increase. I don't know why that happens, but we all know it does. And so that money helps us pay for a lot of the upfront expenses before we gain the majority of our funds, which is through gate donations and the public visiting. So we're very grateful for that contribution, and we're hoping that we can rely on that again. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and Council.
You got it. Thank you, Cheryl. Questions for the delegation? Councillor Gore, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Hello, Cheryl and
Hello,
Nancy.
Amit.
Hi. First of all, I want to thank you and the group of volunteers that run this show. You've already spoken about the benefits that this event brings to Parksville. This event being run by volunteers like yourself, who are not paid anything, it makes such a huge difference in the success of this event. Because if it was to be done by somebody who charges us for this event, I don't think it will be feasible for us to run this. So thank you to you and your group. Can you specify about the $7,500 a little bit more, what the cost is for?
Yeah.
Please. Thank you.
Absolutely. Through the mayor, to Councillor Gower. Upfront, we need to pay for a lot of expenses, majority of which consist of marketing prior to the event. That marketing side of the budget is about $90,000. And so we have to use funds to pay for those advertising expenses, most of which are upfront. And then there is ongoing marketing. So the $7,500 helps to support that. We also, in exchange for, sponsors who pay a certain amount to be involved in our event, we want to acknowledge those. So there's expenses related to recognizing all of those who contribute, whether they're sponsors, whether they're grant and aid, whether they're major donors. So those expenses are also part of that preparation in advance. So that money contributes to a lot of the marketing. There's also so many other expenses in advance. So, we have to bring sculptors here from all over the world. Bringing the sculptors here, ensuring that they have what they need, that's a major expense as well. So that's in advance of our opening and our whole 5.5-week exhibition.
Okay. Any other questions for the delegation or comment? Go ahead, Councillor Beal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Cheryl and Nancy, for coming here today to present. And I, like so many, absolutely love the sand sculpting and Beach Fest and that we have here every summer. In the past, I noticed from a line item that we do have $5,000 that is generally planned for and set aside. So my understanding is that the request here is that this would be increased to $7,500. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And may I ask, would that be then considered a sponsorship by the city of Parksville, or does the city also typically sponsor a particular sculptor or duo during the event? Can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. Through the mayor to Councilor Beal and Nancy, feel free to contribute where I may leave some gaps out. As you enter our sand sculpting site, we want to recognize major contributors to our event that help make it happen. Obviously, Quality Foods is a title sponsor, and they give us cash towards our startup, which helps with all of the things that we talked about. But also, we do have some event management team members that we need to support from a payroll point of view or a contracted point of view. And that fund helps us contribute in that way to their activities up front. The sand sculpting berm in the front, it recognizes all of those major contributors. And so we have levels of contributors or sponsorship that we want to recognize that go on to that berm. And anyone who contributes $5,000 or more, we call them King of the Castle sponsors. Whether it's a grant and aid or a sponsorship, you can use that term as you feel comfortable. We want to recognize the city as they see fit. But we recognize that we can't do our activity without the support of the city of Parksville. And we know that our event benefits the city, and we value so much our collaboration in putting on our event to ensure that we meet all the standards and requirements that the city has in place. So we want to recognize the city in that way. And so we do put funds towards the creation of that berm. We have to pay sculptors to do that and carve logos in the sand. So there's an expense there as well. Nancy, anything you want to add?
Just one thing, Mary, to address what you were asking about sponsoring a specific sculpture. We don't look for anybody to sponsor a specific one. It's more like Cheryl said, the berm per se for each of the individual sponsors.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councilor Gore, go ahead.
So Mayor, is this the time to make a motion to support this request? When would you like?
No, not at this time, Councilor Gore. What this is in advance of our consideration at our financial presentations that we're now in the middle of. And so this is the opportunity for the community organizations to come and present. Instead of just sending in a slip of paper with a request on it, this gives them a chance to further flesh out what the activities that they provide and the services that they're also asking for. So there'll be no motions that entertain this time. That's why we're in committee of the whole, so we can have a fulsome discussion at this point. So for those that are in the audience as well that are coming up after Beach Fest here, that there'll be no motions made at this particular time today. This will be forwarded, all this information, to our next financial meeting, and that's when council debates on the merit and the awarding of the financial requests as provided by the different organizations. So, Councilor Gore, go ahead.
Thank you. So through you, I have a question for our staff.
Go ahead.
So Kiva, this request for $7,500 will show in the financial plan request meetings on the 24th. Is that correct?
If I may, through the mayor, yes.
Yes. Councilor Fraz, go ahead.
Thank you. Then through the mayor, just want to take a moment to then express my appreciation. I think you said it very well when you said it puts Parksville on the map in a big way. When people come to visit our community, they come to visit the community park. That's one of the big things here. And for the sand sculpting, so it's, in a lot of people's minds, that is Parksville when they come. So appreciate all you do. I think it's remarkable in a day and age when it's hard to get volunteers for events, how you're able to pool them all together from across the community. It's amazing to see all these different groups coming together. So I think that deserves a lot of praise. So thank you very much. I think this is some of the best money spent that we have in our community.
Thank you. Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, both of you for this wonderful event. It was just yesterday, I was talking to a close friend of mine, and she's been a friend of mine since we were in grade 1. She lives in Victoria. And she was up here with her grandchildren. They live in Nanaimo, and brought them up to see what was going on here in Parksville, so they had a lovely time. Anyway, I was telling her about the 17th of August, about what happened that evening. She says, well, we'll come, and that was just from Victoria. It's not global, but still, yeah, because the whole evening with all the sound and the lights and the fireworks and the lit up sandcastle. I mean, it was like picture. And there was a lot of people there, and it took us 15 minutes to get out of the park. That was really good.
That was good.
I thought that was excellent. So thank you very much. It is a comment. Thank you.
No further questions or comments at this time? Thank you, Cheryl and Nancy, for your presentation.
We're very grateful. Thank you for the extra minute. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you for taking the time. Coming up next, we have the next organization is from the Parksville and District Chamber of Commerce. Request for increased visitor center funding. Presentation by B. McQuaw in person and Al Massey online, requesting increased annual funding for the operation of the Visitor Information Center. Megan, if you can self-introduce yourselves, who's at the microphone here right now, that'd be great.
I'm back. Good afternoon, Your Worship, Mayor O'Brien and members of the City Council. Thanks for the opportunity to present on behalf of the Parksville and District Chamber of Commerce. As many of you know, my name is Megan Walker, and I'm now the past president of the PDCC. Online, you'll see as Liette Massey. Up until very recently, she was our executive director, but in fact has very recently accepted a full-time role as the Nanaimo Chamber of Commerce CEO. So she has joined us on Zoom. And I also have the pleasure of introducing our vice president, who is also, as of today, this is his first act, our interim executive director. So try and go easy on him if you don't mind. And before I begin the presentation, I would just like to take a moment to introduce him. So Dr. Omar Karim is a professor in the Faculty of Management and Law at Vancouver Island University, where he leads the MBA Work Integrated Learning Program. He has over a decade of experience in leadership development, organizational strategy, and business community engagement. He has an MBA and a Master of Science in International Business and a doctorate in higher education. His work includes supporting Indigenous communities and contributing to national reconciliation initiatives through the Moosehead campaign, alongside broader efforts in equity and inclusive leadership. Dr. Krim also leads skill and leadership development programs for youth and emerging professionals, partnering with institutions in Canada and in over 25 countries. He recently spoke at the United Nations International Diplomats Conference in Thailand on global leadership and community development. As the interim executive director, Dr. Krim is focused on strengthening relationships with local businesses, enhancing member value, and supporting inclusive economic growth in the region. So I'm very pleased to have him stepping into that role in an interim basis. And I will now pass over the presentation to Dr. Krim.
And just before we start, I just want to say, just like to greet you my traditional language by saying Kemcho, Jambo, and Yalimudat. And I do that by honoring my ancestry. I'm the son of Diamond and Shamshi Karim. My dad's from Uganda, and my mom's from Nairobi, Kenya, Indian descent. Hence, I greet you by saying Kemcho, which is in Gujarati, Jambo is in Swahili, and Yalimudat is a traditional greeting. I grew up here as an Ismaili Canadian in Canada. Grateful to be on the territory of the Snawas First Nations and Qualicum First Nations here today. And a lot of gratitude to everyone in this audience, all of the City Council, our Mayor, for all your support and contributions to Parksville to date. We can begin the presentation. And, we're here to speak about the Parksville Visitor Information Center and to request an increase of $40,000 in our service fee for service agreement to help ensure that the center's continued success and sustainability and presenting a positive first impression to visitors and community members. The Visitor Center is not just a tourism facility. It's a community asset. It provides vital services to visitors and residents, helps drive our local economy, and acts as one of the first impressions many people who, of our beautiful city. So a bit of background and financial context. I did a little digging research first day, first week with Megan and Barry and Liette as well. But the Parksville Visitor Center operates under a fee-for-service agreement within the city. It was originally built through the chamber member contributions located in city-donated land. Despite inflation and rising costs, the city's annual funding contribution has minimally increased since 1996. And that contribution in 1996 from the research was $53,000. And the current contribution this past year is $57,713. The city's annual contribution to Parksville District and Chamber of Commerce has only increased from $53,000 in 1996 to $57,000 today. That's roughly a 9% increase over nearly 30 years. Inflation over the same period from 1996 to 2025 in British Columbia, we refer to some CPI indexes. It's approximately, for that type of duration, is about 65 to 75% of increase. So this means that in real dollars, the chamber is receiving less than half of the original purchasing power it had in 1996 to maintain and operate the same services, particularly the visitor center and community programs. During that time, the costs of staffing, insurance, utilities, building maintenance have grown substantially, and the facility is now operating at an annual deficit of approximately $24,000 in an average of the past 6 years, which is the chamber subsidizing. The requested funding increase would offset this ongoing shortfall and provide resources for essential building maintenance, safety improvements, and upgrades needed to sustain high-quality visitor services. So a bit of like some updates around some stats. I think it's important to show that of how we've been doing. So the Parksville Visitor Center achieved a strong performance gains in 2025 with the reduced hours, and we are hoping with additional funding to continue and to increase our operating hours. Total visitors, we had over 7,423 in 2025, which was up 21% in 2024. Total parties served was 4,321 in 2025, and that's at a 13% increase in the previous year. Parties per hour increased from 1.99 to 2.95, showing a greater efficiency and higher visitor volume during open hours. Operating hours, although we stayed within our service of fee service agreement of being open for 24 hours during the shoulder seasons, despite the decreased number of hours being open, we still saw overall visitor numbers, the growth of that, by exercising a level of flexibility within this fee-for-service agreement. In 2025, we're happy to report through the Canada Summer Job Grants funding, we hired 4 local students as visitor center counselors, allowing us to operate 7 days a week between May and to September. This not only strengthened our service delivery, but also provided valuable youth employment opportunities. These results show a clear pattern. Visitor demand is increasing, and our team is doing more with less. We have a few infrastructure needs that we want to mention as well. This relates to building upgrades, maintenance and safety improvements to preserve the facility's conditions. This is the washrooms, the flagpoles, interior and exterior. This is the first impression of our city. So we want to think about what does that feel like? What does that mean for when someone comes to Parksville? Landscaping updates are also important to mention. So these improvements will help enhance the visitor experience and ensure operational efficiency and maintain the center as a welcoming gateway to Parksville. We're also happy to introduce and announce that we're going to be having a youth initiative, a podcast that will start at the chamber. It'll be called the PDC podcast from the visitor center to draw more attention to the visitor center, and it's going to be done by local youth in our community. So again, when we think about all this in summary, the Parksville Visitor Center continues to deliver strong results, higher efficiency, and tangible economic benefits. Additional operating funding will safeguard the building's condition, ensure high quality service, and sustain the positive economic impact that tourism brings to our community. An increase of $40,000 in 2026 would close our operating gap, address deferred maintenance, and allow us to continue delivering exceptional service and value to residents, businesses, and visitors, and have flexibility to expand our hours to support. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Well, that was great.
Thank you.
Did you go to auctioneer speaking school? Wow.
I should have actually.
That was, man, I was trying to get those numbers all in there. I think I did pretty good.
One paragraph.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well done. Just make sure I got the ask correctly. You're asking for additional 40,000 on top of the 57,000. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Just I was trying to rate as fast as you spoke.
Yeah.
Thank you. I thank you for the presentation. Questions from council or comments? Councilor Grens, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do watch videos at 1.25 times pretty often, so I think I was following you. Thank you very much. I do wonder what your vision is for the visitor center outside of being a visitor center. That is certainly a thing in and of itself, but I think previously the visitor center would have also served as kind of like an office space or something in the chamber as well, which the need for that, I don't know, is that still something that you use it for? Or you mentioned the podcast. What's kind of your plan for the non-visitor center functions that might get you the additional value from having that?
Sure, I can answer some of that. So the fee-for-service agreement and our original covenant actually require us to use part of the building as a chamber. We, of course, would continue to do that. And the budget that we submitted and presented in the numbers, we section that off. And I'm sorry, I don't remember off the top of my head. I think it's 60-40. So we allocate 40%, if that number is correct, of the utilities, et cetera, to the chamber and the costs of running that building itself. So we will continue to use it as a chamber office. We'd love to have some of those bikes and scooters parked outside of the visitor center. They're welcome in our parking lot. We have done some other things in the past, such as having a food truck parked there. We've held some markets there. We've cooperated with the museum and doing some fall markets, and with some great momentum that we have right now with the chamber itself and good staffing levels, we hope to continue to improve on the services we offer at the center itself.
I just want to add into your question of where we can go. So this is first week 1. We're going to be kind of removing some of the clutter to be able to repurpose that space for members in our community. For example, we have an amazing boardroom. What would it look like for our chamber members to be able to have access to the boardroom, to have their meetings there? Having a podcast there will drive attention, tourism, people to come to the visitor center to learn more about the opportunities of how you can get involved, places to visit in Parksville. We're also thinking about ways of waste reduction of some of the pamphlets and paper usage that we're using to be able to be thinking from a sustainable lens as well. And we have amazing partners. Right beside us is the museum. What are some opportunities of collaborative initiatives? We have still to talk to the museum, so I hope to meet the museum folks this week. I think they're in the back audience here. Maybe do a Christmas market. There's lots of ways that we can utilize that visitor center as a centralized place for community and community connection. And I think the podcast and getting youth involved in that discussion will be able to help bridge some of those gaps.
Okay. I want to say thank you for that collaboration. It was obviously your next door neighbor is the museum.
Yeah.
And there's so much energy in between your two organizations. And I think, and it's to the entrance to our city, and which is in itself is very important, as you say, that we upgrade to keep it looking well. But I really, some collaboration in between your two organizations would be welcome, and I think. And also, I want to make sure that staff have made notice recommendation. As Megan mentioned right away about the Evolve Bike program, I see huge potential for your parking lot for the tourists coming in. Leave your car there and go see Parksville on an Evolve. I think that would be fabulous. Anyways, just has all sorts of good feeling about that. Yeah. So we've made a note of that when we get to that Evolve program. Thank you. Other questions or comments? Councillor Beal, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through to our delegation and to Liette online there. Hello, Liette. Good to see you. I would really like to congratulate the chamber on the challenges that you've faced in this past year have been really quite daunting, and yet you've really risen above and re-energized the organization and handle some really challenging staffing situations through no fault of anybody, but just, illness, people being off after post-surgery. And so I congratulate you on how you've come through that, and also with the hiring of the youth, and also the amazing job that was done this past summer with the market on Craig Street. So I look forward to, and actually there's a dinner tomorrow night. There might be some tickets still available. There are
There is
tickets.
space available.
And non-chamber, you do not have to be a chamber member to attend. And the dinner is at Morningstar, so it should be a real treat. So you can always go to chamber online, I presume, and find
Yeah,
tickets.
and call the office, and Bruce Williams, the former broadcaster and CEO of the Victoria Chamber, is our speaker. So it should be a really great night. So I would love to have some, just call the office, we'll fit you in.
I hope that Blaine heard that and pass that along. Thank you. Okay, anyway, well done. Thank you.
Other comments? Councillor Gore, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Hello, Omar. I was hoping to hear some Hindi words in your salutation. I have a question to Megan and yourself. And Megan, you've been in the position and with the chamber previously. As you know, like we get this request quite often from the chamber that what the current funding is, it's not working for you folks. And you've heard the council go back and forth, like we've negotiated this before. And you know the budget, and you know how much the council can and is willing to spend. So to manage expectations and just to be very transparent, I want to know if you folks are looking at perhaps within the budget, if you can, and I know Omar mentioned about the different events, the different initiatives that you guys want to take on to better utilize the space and perhaps earn some other revenue, other things. I wonder how much is the chamber looking at using AI or other technology to perhaps decrease the burden to have the need for these extra funds if they are not approved by council. What's the way? What's your in the military they would say what's the COA B, the course of action?
So I'll answer the beginning part of that and I'll pass it over to Omar. So we would love to utilize some technologies to increase efficiency. One of the main thing is actually just the physical building itself. Unfortunately, AI can't help us do the landscaping or paint. And the other thing is the staffing. We're really grateful that last year we changed the fee-for-service agreement to allow us some flexibility in the hours so that we were not required to be open 5 days a week in the off-season. And actually, I think rearranging the schedule per the new agreement last year worked a lot better. We were able to schedule to business hours, and I think that drove some of the increase in visitors. So from that perspective of the physical building and staffing hours, that's not necessarily something that can be helped with that, but I'll pass the second part of your question over to Omar.
Yeah, in terms of AI, I love that piece. We're actually in talks with, a lot of the work I teach at VIU as well, and I work a lot with these. We bring these real consulting projects in the classroom, and a few of the AI companies we're talking about. I'll give you an example of one that I think would be beneficial. Maybe if the tourism board's here as well too. It's called EduSite, and essentially a lot of times people go on a website and they don't know how to surf for information or find where this location is or track that level of engagement. So there's widgets that we can place with the work that we can do to optimize the opportunity to enhance tourism engagement, to enhance people to be able to know where to find information if they don't have that information. What's really great about this organization, and we're talking with them, and they might even be coming as a partner where we can offset some of those costs, is the opportunity of us to track engagement. What are questions that people are wondering that they're not being answered by our website, or in terms of what they're looking for in Parksville? And we're able to track this data and track this engagement, and then being able to actually profile that engagement to be able then to better suit the needs of how we should shift the visitor center based on the needs. What could the visitor center look like? But as Megan mentioned, is right now what it looks like, and I'll be honest, as first time starting this week, there's lots of improvements, like upgrades. It's a representation of our city, and so thinking about what does it mean for us to represent that in a good way so that we can do those collaborative events with the museum, so that we can have those opportunities where we could partner with AI companies and feel proud of the space that we're in. And then also manage it, not just 3 days a week, but open those hours. And I think this will enable us with the resources to do so.
Speaking of AI, I was just thinking you could use AI to project a hologram in front of your visitor information center, what you'd like it to look like. you know, like Buckingham Palace, you know, something like that, you know. It's just a thought, way less at construction costs. Just moving on. Oh, okay, there it is. Okay, I was looking at me. Liette, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Number one, thank you, Councillor Beal, for your positive comments. I know that it was a short stint that I spent in Parksville, but I've loved every second of it. And I'm just down the road, so I hope to continue to collaborate with you moving forward and continue those relationships. So we'll see you at the dinner tomorrow night. One thing I just wanted to add to that, and thank you, Megan and Omar, is we are really growing that relationship with VIU and have been specifically over the last, 6 months to a year by bringing in the opportunity for us to have MBA students work with us regularly. And that's in part with Omar and previous to him, Rob Ferguson, another board member. So I think that those kinds of things and us having that opportunity to work with students and give them a lot of opportunity to help us in the visitor center and the Chamber of Commerce is another great opportunity for us moving forward. So I just wanted to let you know, I know you were speaking specifically to AI, but also it's been so great for us to have students be in that chamber and visitor center with us as well throughout the summer, as well as specific chunks of time to do large scale projects.
Thanks, Liette. Any other first-time speakers, council? Seeing none, Councillor Gore, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And to Megan and Omar, you see that we agreed to the agreement last year, and what the funding is, and then what the request is, there's a huge gap. So it means there's something that's not matching up. So either, like, I would love to see all these initiatives that Omar has, all these brilliant ideas. I would like them to come to fruition. But how do we match that gap? That's almost like a double of the request. It's not a general increase, a steady increase. So speaking to that, can you tell me what is your plan B in case there is no funding? Are you going, like, what's your plan? Yeah.
Well, we're hoping there is the funding. This is the same ask we made last year because the deficit has been substantial each year and the chamber has been subsidizing that gap for all this time. But again, to the detriment of the building itself each year that continues to have deferred maintenance that we're not dealing with, landscaping done by volunteers as and when they are able to show up with a lawnmower, things like that. So I would hope that potentially we can increase our volunteership at the visitor center, potentially with either more students or community members, or potentially sponsorship from local businesses where they take over some of the items that are a hard cost to us. A landscaping company, if they want some free advertising, maybe they take over that. There are other things that we can do, not to say we haven't tried that in the past, but you can always ask again, right? I'll let Omar address the other part.
I think that sometimes we have transitions in new leadership. And I think that I'm hoping that when you learn a bit about us and we have a new board and new team, I'm coming in as the interim ED. I hope you see that we'll bring a new flavor or energy to Parksville. So what maybe you haven't seen, and this is, we've had amazing leadership that have got us to where we are today, but it's now time to take us to that next level. And so I think it's about building that relationship of trust and believing each other. And these are some initiatives. We're going to be doing the podcast irrespective. But we want to build on these initiatives. And to do so, we need that support. One of our interns is actually in the audience here today. Mustafa is behind me right here. So just as an example of an amazing opportunity for an MBA intern to be a part of a city council meeting too. So you can see that what we're speaking and as we're we're providing these ideas, we're putting them into action as we have just, as we begin this transition.
Thank you. And something that came to mind anyways was, I think when Omar's opening speech there was, reference to the amount of visitors that had actually increased. When we went into this about a year ago, and there's some challenges that happened at that time, it appeared that the Visitor Information Center had a declining attendance. And yet, if I heard correctly, it was actually increased over previous annual numbers. And last year, I know we were presented with other ideas from other municipalities, obviously, that we align ourselves with through our different organizations, UBCM and ABICC, of visitor information centers being closed by the municipalities because a lot of it has been going online. And I know from the tourism perspective, it's one more tool in our box that we have. And why would you want to get rid of that? But at the same time, we wanted to make sure that we weren't funding a dinosaur, quite frankly, because if everybody else is using Google Maps and all the other search engines they have on it. So you're proving, though, that there's still a demand for that. And we had a very successful, I think, Mr. Steeples would probably confirm that we had a very successful summer tourism season last year. And so maybe those numbers also reflect the fact that the visitors actually stopped at the Visitor Information Center. They just didn't go to their destination when they got to the beautiful city of Parksville. They actually stopped there for some advice, I would think, some questions and so forth, and maybe deal with your student interns that probably made their stay that much better because they were informed. So that's good news, what you brought to us today anyways, that it is on the incline. That's what I heard.
Thank you so much. That is 100% true. So it's up 21%, and that's only as the end of October 2025. So the annual number in 2024 was 6,100. And so far this year, we've had 7,400. So we still have November and December to count in that. So the numbers, I think, will be up. And part of that is thankfully to the new fee for service agreement from last year, where we negotiated that flexibility in hours. I think that made a big difference. So we're very grateful to that. But also, I think a lot of the European visitors, specifically, the feedback we've gotten is they want in-person advice. So they look for a visitor center, they stop, they want to talk to somebody local for local information. They don't want to check Google, or they will check Google, but they also want someone to talk to that lives here, that works here, and they want a personal recommendation. So, and I think even in a time of online activity, I think that will continue to be the case. And I hope that if we get some extra funding and we look even better, more people will stop.
So what I heard is that you had less hours and you had more visitors. Well, that's, yeah. Okay. And the other thing, just to clarify, with the increase ask of the $40,000 on top of the 57 already in there, would part of that $40,000 be used for the upgrade on the building itself? Like you're talking about the flagpoles, you're talking about the roof, and you're talking about some upgrades inside to make your space more efficient. Would some of that be used for that?
100%.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you both for your presentations. I'm very familiar with the area, and I've been quite involved with the museum next door long before I was a councillor. And I was just wondering if this is possible for the, considering the budget and the cost of not all the upgrades, but just the gardening by itself. Like at the museum, and this is, maybe you already know, but that went on for a long time, what to do. The costs are up there. They got volunteers to help, and they have that at the museum. And I was thinking, is that possible to do something to keep the place on the outside looking really good? Because it makes a difference, like you're saying. The hard stuff, the paint and the roof and all that, that's different. But I'm talking about the gardens. Maybe that through your organization, you can put it out there and ask for volunteers to help. Because volunteerism is quite strong in our community. And if it's just asked, not always paying, and that would help the budget. So I was just going to mention that. But thank you very much. Yeah.
So I think a few things that I would just reflect upon is around building capacity. And I think that's where we want to go. We want to have this volunteer program where we have that center open 7 days a week, and you have volunteers that are leading in those spaces and in those places. But I think for us, we need to kind of build to that place. And so right now we're rebuilding, relearning, re-understanding. And so I think that's where we want to go. But in the interim phase, there's there's certain things that, like, for example, doing the flag poles, those are some things that a volunteer, it could be very dangerous for someone to do. So there's some pieces that are within limitations that we actually need to happen from a safety perspective. Yeah.
I'm thinking from what we spoke of earlier, is there's some maybe help and assistance in between the museum and the Chamber Visitor Information Center for staffing, because your hours are going to be very similar to what the museum's hours are going to be as well. And it's a fact, you know, during the summertime, you know, you have to have staffing, paid staffing. Is there any way that there could be some efficiencies gained by maybe pooling the staffing requirements? I don't know. I'm just brainstorming here anyways to suggest if there's something, because you're both providing a service, but you both could lean on each other. You know, obviously if you're working with the museum, is they, well, you can't visit Parksville without visiting the museum, and you're right here, and that vice versa. And the museum is going to go back and forth. And so I think that there's some efficiencies gained here, because you literally, you share a parking lot. So your space is very close. So I'm not talking amalgamation here. I'm just saying cooperation, maybe more than anything, because you all have costs that you have to maintain, and those costs are all increasing for all of your organizations, and I get it. But some of them are similar costs, and one of the biggest ones is always staffing. Believe me, I know that. So
I just maybe want to add, I think it's best we don't speak on behalf of the museum, and we're building this collaboration relationship to do more opportunities for us to work together, I think, to get to that point. And whatever the model that we come up with, we want to ensure that we're still providing that same value proposition of service for both the visitor center as well as the museum. So if there's opportunities to cross collaborate, I think we're open for it.
Yeah.
But we need to make sure we have discussions with the museum to make sure we can commit to anything on that. Yeah.
That's fine. We're just trying to move forward here. That's great. It's a better model. I think you're going to create it, and I like it. I like the new energy. Thank you. Any other comments from anyone? No, I think that's it. You've wrapped it up. Thank you very much for your presentation. Council, the next presentation we have is from the Mount Arrowsmith Biosphere Region, and regarding the Brant Wildlife Festival, a presentation by R. Wernick of the Mount Arrowsmith Biosphere Regional Research Institute regarding the annual funding for the Brant Wildlife Festival. Welcome. You have 5 minutes for your presentation. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. And thank you, Mayor and Council. It's really nice to be here today on the territory of the Snawas First Nation to present on the Brant Wildlife Festival. I'm Ray Warniak from the Mount Arrowsmith Biosphere Region. And I think everyone here is very familiar with the Brant Festival. This year is our 35th anniversary, and it was created in 1991 to promote tourism in the shoulder season. And it celebrates the return of the Pacific Brant black geese and the biodiversity of our region. In 2025, we hosted 34 events by 10 community groups and involved 150 volunteers. And in 2026, it'll be April 10th through 13th. Some of the benefits to Parksville is it promotes activity in the area in the shoulder season, and it creates opportunities for community engagement. It creates opportunities for business, engages youth in nature, and it continues an ongoing relationship that we've had with this city. So for our 35th anniversary, we're seeking sponsorships that range from $500 to $5,000, and I believe there was a sponsorship package included. And last year we had about 2,800 visitors at our events, and we're really hoping for over 3,000 this year. We currently have secured funding from the Town of Qualicum Beach, the Regional District of Nanaimo, Parksville Qualicum Beach Tourism Association, Parksville Quality Community Foundation, and Mid-Island Co-op, and we're just approaching new returning and past sponsors. And our ask this year is for the City of Parksville to continue their generous $5,000 donation to the Brant Wildlife Festival. That's it.
Hey, thanks, Ray. Do you want to sell 3 minutes to somebody else? You help with your sponsorship.
Let's,
Thank you, Ray. Any questions or comments for Ray while he's here right now? Go ahead, Councillor Beal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through to Ray, thank you very much. Have any details been worked out for the program for this coming Brant Festival? I took part in a number last year, but I got the sense that some were maybe inaugural last year. I don't know if the gala. Anyway, if you could talk about what's being planned, because I look forward to even more and better events.
Yep, we'll have all the events from last year will reoccur this year. We had 9 new events last year, and this year for the 35th anniversary, we are having a focus on children and families. So we're rented Oceanside Place for free skating, and there'll be free face painting. And then the pond area, we got DJ Connor, who I think everyone's familiar with. So he'll be doing DJ. There'll be like a DJ dancing, skating thing for that afternoon. With our environmental group partners there to help people learn about the environment. We're having a pancake breakfast one morning. We have swimming at Ravensong Pool, a free family swim, and there'll be a drop-in art at Saskatchewan for the afternoon. And we'll have a movie night, and there'll be a morning where we have citizen science for families. So kind of every night, morning and afternoon for the weekend, there'll be activities focused on families and children on top of what we have done in the past.
Yeah. Councilor Martin, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. It sounds very exciting, the actual event. I wanted to mention that you went through the slides really quick, but the one at the beginning is your office with all the volunteers. And that was terrific. And I think, I go there for meetings, and it's a well-used facility, beautiful exhibits, open house all the time. I think your hours are really important to mention that, because you're there and it's very good for the community to see what's going on in that area. That little building there was very well used. So what are the hours there because you're there? You can come and see, right?
Yeah, I'm there Monday to Friday, about 8 to 4. And with our other employee, Mandy, she's on maternity leave right now. We're struggling a bit to keep it open all the time because I'm away this afternoon, for instance. But we've started looking for volunteers, and we have 4 volunteers who will be there just to sit around and have coffee. We've created a MABR 101 manual for them to use. And I think once we have 8 volunteers, we're going to do in-house training, and then there'll be more regular hours when the volunteers can be there and then when I can be there. So
you're a volunteer also, right?
Well,
Amazing.
I am a paid employee, but I also
Are you now?
volunteer a
Wow.
lot. Yeah.
Because you've been there a long time from the very beginning. So thank you very much. It's great.
Thank you.
You. Any other questions? That's it, Ray. We know who you are, and thanks very much for your presentation. Yeah, that's great.
Thank you, everyone.
Next up, council, we have the Bolinas Parent Committee for the Bolinas Dry Grad funding request. A presentation by A. Richardson on behalf of the Bolinas Parent Committee regarding a funding request for the annual Bolinas Secondary School Dry Grad event. The only high school we have in the city of Parksville. So you're our favorite high school. Just one more time and you'll go green. There you are. You're good. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of Council. Thank you for allowing me to present today. My name is Andrea Richardson, and I'm the Head of Communications for Prom 2026 for Ecole Balinas Secondary School. I'm here today asking for $3,000 to help provide a safe, successful, and inclusive prom for our students. We have approximately 205 students in grade 12 in Bolinas this year, as well as students through our Keep and Pass Woodwinds program. Last year, almost all of our grads attended their prom, as well as students from grade 11 who came as guests at at Belena's, as well as some Qualicum Secondary School students. We are very happy to announce that prom will be back in Parksville this year, after being in the RDN for the past 2 years. This year's event will be held at Tainamara at the end of June. We would like to continue having prom in Parksville in the future, but that hinges on this year's event being a success for the students, their parents, and the community. Hosting a fun and inclusive dry grad event for our students not only provides a wonderful event and fantastic memories, but also helps to keep our children safe, as well as the entire community. The students have already been hard at work with one successful bottle drive last weekend and another one planned in the new year, as well as they do several of their own events to fund for additional grad activities throughout the year. So they have been working very hard. Our parent committee has also planned a number of fundraising events throughout the community. Our goal is to have an affordable event so that no student is left out or a family is forced to choose between sending their child to prom or paying for other necessities. We are trying to keep ticket prices as low as possible, as well as completely covering the costs for students who cannot afford the ticket price. Our focus is making this an amazing and memorable event for all students without causing any additional stress at an already busy and eventful time of their lives. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrea. Well done. Questions for Andrea while she's here? Go ahead, Councillor Beal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Andrea, for presenting. And it's interesting to learn that it will be at Tainamara this in 2026. I did read the information that we got ahead of time, so at that point it was still open as to where it would be, and also different costs were involved. One thing I'm curious about is that given that it will be at Tainamara, does that change the level of necessity for decorating and setting up the night before? I'm just thinking that if it's in such a facility that they must provide a lot of that. If you could speak to that.
There will be less decorating. The previous event was at Arbutus Meadows, which is, used for sports and horseback riding. So we did have to do quite a bit more to make it as beautiful as it will be at Tainamara without as much stuff. The costs will be different. It will still be a similar budget. It'll just be a matter of where the costs are. So we're paying a higher amount to Tainamara because they're providing the food. So we don't have to outsource that. So it's a bit easier that way, and there'll be a bit less decoration, but there is a higher cost of having it there. So.
Further questions? Councillor Gore, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Andrea, for coming before us and presenting. Can you touch on some of the activities that are planned for the event? And also, have you approached other governments, local governments like Qualicum Beach or the RDN for some funding?
We are applying for an RDN grant. We're not planning to approach Qualicum as we are in Parksville, and just about all of our students, I believe, are in Parksville. So Qualicum would fund the KSS grad. As for the activities, hopefully no students are watching. Don't want to give away any secrets. In the past, we've had a bunch of different games, casino kind of style things. So we'll probably have more of those. We'll have a dance floor. We're looking at different music options this year, DJ, as well as maybe some live music. We've had different performers in the past. We had a cartoonist last year. I believe we had a hypnotist. There's been magicians, different things like that. So we're looking at those things right now. So there should be lots. It is a long event. It will be kind of 5 to 6 hours. That's the point, is as a dry grad event, you want to keep the students there for the evening and keep them engaged as long as possible to keep them safe.
Andrea, if you could advise what your grad numbers were again, your
For the amount of students?
Yes.
We have approximately 205 students. That does fluctuate a little bit throughout the year at Bolinas. We also have students who will be graduating from the KEEP, which is the online program, and the Past Woodwinds program. There's usually less than 20 of those that will be graduating. Again, that can fluctuate. Most of them last year did attend prom. Of course, we haven't started to sell tickets yet, so we don't have exact numbers for this year. But I was actually surprised at how many kids were there, as well as they are welcome to bring guests. Many kids go, you know, with other kids in grade 12, but some of them bring a friend or someone they're in a relationship with in grade 11 or from KSS.
Right.
So we try to make it that everyone has, some people kind of bring more of a, like a support kind of like that's their person and that's who
Right.
they want to celebrate with. So we try to keep that open for them.
What good point. Thank you. So that could all be accommodated by like probably in the Walburn room or something like that at Tinamara. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's actually going to be downstairs. So, but there is enough, there should be.
Downstairs?
Yes,
Okay.
but there's enough room to accommodate more students than we had last year. So.
Right. Yeah, so that could be accommodated. So if you do like a casino area or something like that, you can utilize all the downstairs. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's great. So I'm pleased that you're trying to make things considerably easier for you as an organizing committee anyways, to let them handle all of that. In the past, the high school, Bolinas High School have taken advantage and had like a picture taking ceremonies down in like the community park and maybe a walk, a promenade along the boardwalk and so forth. Is that still planned anyways to utilize the space at the park? And are there any thoughts about, sometimes they've talked about having a grad parade within the park itself? Is anything like that being planned for 26, or are those plans still being developed?
We have applied for the boardwalk and gazebo space for that day. We are planning on doing the same thing as last year, having all the grads meet and do photos. And yeah, we call it the promenade.
Right.
So I'm not sure about a car parade within the space. That will probably be decided a bit closer. Kind of depends who wants to take that on, the interest from the students, that sort of thing. And if it's, I don't know how difficult that is to kind of, if we have to shut down driving in the park, that kind of thing, to do that.
Yeah, well, if you, and the reason I was asking, I was going to make sure that you had your application in. And
Yes.
That's okay. So that's, you answered that question very good. And our staff anyways, our events planners anyways, can help you with any other questions. If you're thinking about like doing a drive through the park or something like that with the old car clubs or anything like that, then that's the person that you want to contact anyways, and she can tell you what works and what doesn't work, and make sure you get your application in for that as well.
Okay, yes, your staff has been lovely helping with the promenade part, but I'll keep that in mind about the car
just-
parade. Thank
yeah,
you.
Yeah, you got your application in, so that's good. Yeah, thank you for that. That's it for questions for myself. Any other comments or anything from council members? None, seeing none. Go ahead, Councillor Gore.
Thank you. So, Andrea, what's your budget for this event? Total budget?
We don't have the full budget yet. We just signed with the venue. It will be, you should have the one there from last year. It will be approximately the same as that. Our goal is to, like, we have a number of fundraising events going ahead now. So we're trying to do, we did just our first one. We're waiting for the numbers to come in. So we're just kind of waiting for a ballpark for that to see where we can go. It's, for this sort of event, the budget kind of hinges on, like, we have our base things we can do, and then the more money we can raise, the more fun things for the students we can add.
Sure. Can you, if I may, Mayor?
Go ahead. Yes.
Thank you. Can you remind me what the ask was last year? Do you remember that, Andrea?
Yes, we received 1,500 last year.
Yes, 1,500 was received last year, Councillor Gore. Thank you. Any other questions? That's great, Andrea. Thanks for your time. Yeah, great.
Right,
Everything's
thank
good.
you.
Yeah, good luck with all the preparations. It's a lot of work. I know what you've
Yeah.
done. Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Next up, we have our presentation council for the Parksville Curling Club. Request for event sponsorship funding, a presentation by T. Runch of the Parksville Curling Club regarding a request for event sponsorship. Terry, is it on? Is it Terry? Oh, Tony, thank you. Tony, welcome.
Terry.
Yeah, 5 minutes.
Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you very much. It's good to be in this seat again. Thank you for your invitation to present today. I understand that part of this presentation is also an opportunity to speak a bit about what happened with the funds that we were granted last year. So I'd like to talk a bit about that. It was almost a year ago today that I sat here to discuss the history of the status of the District 69 Arena, and following which you released a princely sum of $120,000 from the City Capital Reserve to assist with needed capital upgrades at the facility. So today I'd like to have just a short update on how those funds have been used, and then to discuss a request for sponsorship for 2026. Annetta, do I work these or do you? Sorry? Okay. So in November 2024, we reached a number of agreements or actions were agreed by council. First was to create a joint capital working group that would prepare capital requirements for the District 69 Arena for the 5 and subsequent years to support our lease renewal discussions for 5 years, lease expiring at the end of 2025. That work on capital projections has been completed. However, the lease renewal discussions are still in process. So it is not possible to discuss today what the 5-year outlook is for capital requirements for the arena. We'll have that conversation at a date in the future. Regarding the $120,000 capital reserve funds that were allocated to the arena, these monies were allocated to the integrated condenser replacement project, which was completed in July of 2025, and also to the replacement of the rooftop furnace at the facility, which is scheduled to be completed in December of this year. Next. So regarding the condenser replacement project, this involved replacing our 20-year-old condenser unit, which was mandated by Technical Safety BC, with a new to us condenser with 13 years of remaining life, as well as a serendipitous replacement of our 1970 vintage compressor units with 2005 vintage units provided by the Comox Air Force Base at the cost of pickup and delivery. This is extremely generous. So the total project cost came in at approximately $90,000 versus our original budget of $120,000. Plus $50,000 we had planned for those compressors. So it was quite a marvelous project in the end. The Parksville Curling Club, members provided $30,000 of this capital spend through the Big Chill 2 Rock Handle sponsorship program. So that left $60,000 of the original allocation, city reserve capital, and that will be putting towards the rooftop furnace replacement, where the city has wisely, we think, elected to incorporate an AC component, which will make the District 69 Arena a potential cooling center in the event of future heat domes and similar weather emergencies, as we move forward. Moving to 2026, Parksville Curling Club has hosted a number of affiliation sanctioned events over the years, Curl BC and Curling Canada sanctioned events. And this year, or this season in February of 2026, we'll be hosting the Curl BC sanctioned Masters Championships in February. That event will bring 100+ elite curlers over the age of 60, their coaches, their families and friends from across the province of British Columbia to Parksville to compete for medals and for the opportunity to represent BC at the Canadian Masters Championship in April 2026, which I believe is in Grand Prairie, Alberta this year. In 2023, we held, so 3 years ago, we held this event. The city of Parksville elected to be a gold sponsor for that event, providing $1,000 to support the material economic injection into the local business community that this event provides during our traditional low season period. And we are hoping that you will reach the same decision in support of the 2026 event. In addition to the sponsorship benefits and exposure outlined here, the city will be supporting the growing recognition of the Parksville Curling Center, as it is now named, as a world-class and sought-after hosting facility for sanctioned curling events, boasting the best arena ice surface on the island. Now, regardless of your decision on event sponsorship, we will be honored to have a member of council or more members, should you wish, to attend the opening ceremonies on Wednesday, February 4th, 2026, and we'll have an official invitation coming shortly. Thank you for your time, and I'll welcome any questions or comments you have on any of the material that I've presented. Thank you.
Tony, thanks so much for your presentation, and you're right on time. The ask, I understand, is for the sponsorship of the Bonspiel, $1,000. I had another question regarding you in application this last year for a patio addition to
Yes.
your facility. Can you talk briefly about that project and what that looks like, and what you're using for funding to do that, and what your intent is?
Certainly. So the, as you may have heard, so in September, we were the hosting venue for the ice curling event for the 55 plus games, which Nanaimo hosted, BC 55 plus games. And that was in the, I think, the third weekend of September. So in the second weekend of September, we hosted what we called a Get Your Feet Wet Bonspiel. 24 teams, $200, no prizes, just come out and curl. And we took the opportunity with those two events to beta test the outdoor patio concept. So how would it work? How would it interface with the club? Where were the choke points, et cetera, et cetera. It went extremely well. It was a private event. We didn't open it to the public, but we learned a lot about how that was going to work. The planning is to have the licensed patio open from middle of June through the middle of September next summer. So it'll shoulder, if you will, the entire Beach Fest event as well, all the outdoor concerts and so on. And we are working with putting a committee together to put together an appropriate, fencing and an ambiance for the outdoor patio itself. All of this will be done at the expense of the club. So this is our sort of our contribution, if you will. We're very optimistic. People just want to be outside. That during both those Bonspiels, the patio was full all the time it was open. So we're very optimistic. It's going to be an excellent gathering place for both Parksville citizens and tourists throughout the summer. And hopefully, if it's as successful as we expect, it'll become a gathering place, or more importantly, perhaps the Parksville Curling Center will become more of a gathering place throughout the year for individuals beyond curlers, but more citizens who just want to come down and enjoy the facility itself.
So this, I take it, would then be a fundraising endeavor for you to attract the public to either, attend your events. It's a June through your patio is June through September. But where I'm going with this is that a year or so back, Teresa can clear up on this, PDBA hosted an event at the curling club where a number of council members went down there, and it was catered by your concession staff or your volunteers and so forth.
Yes, sir.
And it was a well-done event. We were blown away. I mean, it was really, the food was excellent. The location was excellent. You've got your liquor license, location, food, booze. It's a winning scheme.
Well, we think so, sir.
So all that I'm saying is that you are in a great location at a very attractive rental fee. So I'm just wondering if you can run on with your catering and your service levels, because there's so many events in that park. Some might say we have too many events in that park. But at the same time, would the opportunity be there for you to open up your facilities? I'm just saying to hosting groups like the pickleballers and so forth, because I know they have their little windups and so forth. Could you do that right there? How handy that would be anyways. Have you play a couple pickleball or have a championship during the summer, even though I know the weather's, nice for outside, but at the same time, they love your surface inside as well when the ice is off. I'm just thinking of opportunities here, Tony, that you can actually embrace anyways, the fact that you've got a really great facility and there's people down at that park all the time. Like we were talking to people like the car show. Car show is coming back to Parksville this in 26 summer. And they're looking for, like someone that's going to provide catering services for them. They like, the car show enthusiasts show up at 6 o'clock in the morning and they're hungry. They just drove from Victoria and everything. And so quite frankly, we suggest that they contact you, and they will be doing so if they haven't already. And so all of these different groups are having functions in the park, but if you can, yes, we provide food services through our food trucks that are in the pad rental, but people sometimes like a little bit different than that. And I'm just suggesting, is it something that you've considered as a fundraising mechanism for your association? Because as I say, you got a great location and you got a great staff that's doing a wonderful job. I'm super excited about your patio. I think it's good. I think you have Carsten Jensen as your architect on that one. Who I know. So I'm pleased to hear about that. And so, so I think it's a very positive energy that you're going to create down there in our amazing park. So have you considered like doing any kind of marketing or events and so forth, other than just curling?
Sure. Serendipity. So I was having breakfast or coffee this morning with Lloyd Derry, who you probably know well, and in walked Ron Thorogood, who's running or involved in organizing the car show for this summer. And we had that exact same conversation because this year we applied for a 12-month food services or concession license. We used to be just seasonal. So that is now available throughout the year. We've had a substantial increase in summer rentals through our, largely driven through our new manager, Stephen Iwashke, who has a tremendous amount of energy himself. We see, I think, everything that you see. We believe that the summer patio and the concept that we have in place for that mid-June to mid-September timeframe will put the Parksville Curling Center and the Parksville Curling Club firmly on a pathway to financial sustainability and allow us to rebuild the reserves that we have unfortunately had to deplete over the last few years, trying to manage both COVID and then the very aging infrastructure of that building, particularly the ice plant and the interior. And a lot of this, I think, will hopefully be reflected in our lease discussions as we move forward. We certainly take the decision that the council came to concerning the patio as a real responsibility that's been given to the Parksville Curling Club to do something appropriate and positive in the community park. Community park isn't just any place. It is the jewel, it's the center. And you've seen what we can do. And hopefully, not hopefully, I'm positive that we will deliver the same kind of high quality product in this coming summer, and people will appreciate that as we move forward. So we're already seeing the uptick in off-season rentals, which is very important to us and very important to the financial sustainability of the District 69 arena as well.
Good for you.
And the pickleballers are having their festivities there.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, good job. Any questions for Tony while he's here? Councillor Beal, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Tony, for answering those questions. May I ask, just as a follow-up about the patio, pardon me, have you in fact received the go-ahead from the province with regards to your request for having that licensed area? Has that been approved?
Yes, we received approval from the liquor branch first, And the second approval was from council. So this is now a permanent license. It was an extension of our existing license. So all of those approvals are in place. They have made one request of us, and this is incremental too. We're one of the last facilities in the province apparently that still has a social license. And they've asked us to convert that to a primary liquor as opposed to primary liquor social. What that means, the biggest change that we've been able to find in that change would be that an individual would not be able to bring in their own bottle of Crown Royal and have it behind the bar and then bring it out. But other than that, it's still a family license. Hours are the same, everything else. We're a bit of an anachronistic, a leftover from a different time, I guess. So that will be coming forward to, I believe, to council for checking of a box in due course, but something we'd like to have in effect, and the liquor branch would like to have us in effect before next summer.
Follow up, go ahead.
Thank you. I had a couple of questions. One, by the way, for the championship coming up in February, although it is winter, I hope that we don't have the same amount of snowfall that we had at that last one. I remember it quite well. But my question is regarding your relationship with the Downtown Business Association.
Sure.
You are within the BIA and the downtown area. And so do you work closely with the Downtown Business Association when you're planning an event like this? And where I'm thinking about is that people may be coming, I'm just imagining that people are coming to take part in the activities at the curling center. Do they also have time there to use, let's say, whether it be restaurants or other services within the downtown area? And are there some plans in place to optimize that relationship?
Certainly. So I'm on the organizing committee for the Masters Championship. There will be one, I guess, social event, you would call it, held at the club. The remainder of the time for these teams will be spent in the community of Parksville. So we'll be canvassing and working with the Downtown Business Association, find the best way to present information to those teams and their families, the coaches, et cetera, who are coming to Parksville, where to go, where the places are, establishments that are in walking distance. Hotel Feng is a Best Western affiliated hotel. So they are the Best Western is a Curl BC core sponsor. So they will be the sort of the core hotel, and a block of rooms have been set aside for the teams who are coming. And then we have other hotels that will be approaching to sort of take the overflow in addition, and of course the restaurants and free time, et cetera. This is a medals competition. These will be serious curlers coming. They may not be quite the party crowd that we had for the firefighters, for example, but having said that, it is the Masters. It's not the Scotties or the Briar, and they do enjoy themselves more, a little more social, a little more leisure time than perhaps those more prestigious events would have. So we're certainly working to integrate this event into the community as we do with all of our sanctions Bonspiel events. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Gore, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick note of thanks to the curling club and all the volunteers that run all these events. And Tony, please save me a ticket for the February event because I plan on attending. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions at this time for Tony? That's great, Tony. Thanks very much for your time. Yeah. Next, council, we have the presentation from the Oceanside Community Art Council regarding increased annual funding and one-time funding request. A presentation by Jennifer Bate of the Oceanside Community Arts Council for increased funding request. Jennifer, good to see you. You've been here before. You've got 5 minutes, and welcome.
Thank you. I have Ron Mankey here. He's a member of our Arts Council. He will be operating our slideshow. I'm going to read this because I can read faster because I've only got 5 minutes. And I promised the rest of the presentation to Stuart Clark and John Waring from the council. They will finish the presentation today. I get the fun job of talking about all the great stuff that we've done this year. For the first part of the presentation, I want to talk about the past year at the MAC and the power of partners, like Cheryl Dill alluded to. The MAC produces 36 exhibits each year in our 3 galleries. We feature an annual summer exhibition during the months of July and August. This past summer, we produced Squaleek, a partnership with Mabry and VIU. Squaleek celebrated the 25th anniversary of Mount Arrowsmith Biosphere Region. 65 artists participated in this curated exhibition, which featured a glass sculpture of Mount Arrowsmith and 10 stunning photographs of the region's 10 amazing places that filled the windows of the concert and Oceanside galleries. We welcomed over 7,000 visitors to our summer exhibition. Our MAC now has 2 satellite galleries. The Bayside Oceanfront Resort features local art in their hotel rooms, hallways, and dining area, including the stunning permanent exhibit by local glass artist Robert Held in the lobby. This year, we've begun exhibits in the lovely Brazen Poppy Cafe. Go and check that out. Our MAC School for Creative Arts began in 2018 and now features art programming throughout the year for artists of all ages. During COVID, when the MAC was closed for many months, our new art therapy program had to immediately pivot to provide connections with people through Zoom. This program is now running 4 programs during the year. The free drop-in program welcomes 30 people each week, all year long. We partnered with Oceanside Hospice this last year to offer a grief therapy program. It runs twice a year for 8 weeks, and also introduced an art therapy programs for anxiety, and now Beginning Again, which is a therapy series for those experiencing significant changes in life, like retirement or relocation. Our Creative Kids programming presents art classes for kids in the summertime months in our MAC community garden, as well as free events for Halloween, Christmas, Family Day, and Easter, welcoming hundreds of young artists. This year, Creative Kids is partnering with the RDN to produce after-school programs for children 5 and under and youth. For 2 years now, the OCAC and the MAC have joined in partnership with Mid-Island Elder College, and they are hosting arts and music Elder College programs in our MAC studio year-round. One of the most significant additions to the OCAC and the MAC is the MAC Community Public Garden, celebrating its 2nd birthday this year. The impact of this public garden and the efforts of steward Dan LaRock and the PQB Fruit Tree Foundation are being felt throughout Oceanside. Everything that is grown in that garden is given away. Over 4,000 seedlings, 3,000 units of vegetables, 7,500 pounds of fruit, all given away. Throughout the year, Dan presents workshops with guest speakers focusing on food security and food sustainability. For the past 4 years, the MAC has partnered with the Parksville Beach Festival Society in providing box office and promotional support and wonderful volunteers for the events held in the Parksville Outdoor Theater. Box office services, online and in person, bring many visitors to the MAC. We're picking up tickets for opening and closing concerts like Trooper and Chilliwack, Beach Fest Rocks, Parksville Beer Fest, and more. Our volunteers spend many happy hours at our gate box office, and our newsletter now reaches over 10,000 subscribers every month. This summer, the MAC produced a wonderful new arts event for our community. The first annual Amazing Art Race Parksville featured 26 artists painting in locations throughout the downtown area to race to the finish line in 3 short hours. In partnership with the Parksville Downtown Business Association and the Ocean Idlers Car Club, visitors watched as the artwork came to life, and they met some great hot rod car owners in a fun afternoon that culminated in art, judging, and lunch in our community garden. Lastly, for me, the OCAC started the Aging Artfully Seniors program over 10 years ago, providing free art classes to seniors 75 years and over. The MAC hosts 2 8-week sessions of Aging Artfully programming each year for 20 registrants. And now we are providing free art sessions each month at Coakley Manor, Stanford Seniors Village, and Arrowsmith Lodge. Please enjoy the rest of the slides as I invite President Stuart Clark and Treasurer John Waring to come up to answer any questions about our application and our MAC to the Future capital fundraising project.
Put Stuart there.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor.
Mayor,
Good afternoon. We saved 3 minutes from somebody else and another one had 2 minutes, so go ahead.
We're here to answer any questions you have and to amplify Jennifer's presentation and Ron's. And thank you very much to both of them for a job well done. Our request this year is, as you know, oh, sorry.
You can pull the whole
Yeah,
whole
I'm
thing
sorry.
will come to you.
Yeah. Our request this year is an increase from our traditional and annual $5,000 grant and aid from the city. We're asking for an increase of that amount annually to $7,500. But most importantly, we're asking for a one-time contribution to our fundraising program that we're undertaking and beginning now and running through 2026. And as long as it takes to raise approximately $300,000 to refurbish and restore and maintain the lovely princess that is our center of operations, the McMillan Arts Center. She's 113 years old. She's a West Coast wood frame building that was a school, of course, for most of her life. And Councillor Martin's mother went to her. But we're at the stage where windows need replacing. The roof is still sustainable, but it's getting to the end of its life. And of course, if you drive by and take a second quick look, you'll notice that the paint on the Mac is well in need of upgrading and repair. So those are things we're undertaking in our fundraising campaign, which is aimed at the federal, provincial, and local governments, yourselves, and on what we're looking for a one-time grant from the city of Parksville to pay for the half of the cost of the paint that is required this coming spring. We're reaching out to our many local and individual supporters. We're going to be putting window frames up in the old school building that will be dedicated to the family members and remembrance of loved ones. And we're also looking to host a number of fundraising activities such as Rock the Mac dance and other arts events that will draw the public in, as well as requesting that people contribute a $5 contribution when they come to any of those events and exhibitions, in addition to whatever other costs they wish to contend. So, John, you might want to amplify a bit.
Again, thank you. My name is John Waring. I'm on the board at the Oceanside Arts Council, and I'm really happy to be a volunteer. I love the community, and I think this is something we can all be proud of. We did a year ago undertake I'll call it an engineering assessment of the building, both structurally, the roof, the plumbing, the walls, the paint, trying to understand, do we have something that's salvageable? And that was a very positive report. It did comment that fundamentally we have issues with our siding because it is starting to deteriorate. Windows are starting to not quite fail, but the trim, the support pieces are starting to show their age. The roof is probably good for 3 to 5 years. So this was all documented in an engineering report. And we've now put in place what I'll call a preliminary budget that talks about what we should do and when. Our fundamental goal right now is to try and raise money as quickly as we can to paint the exterior. We are also looking at possibility of replacing all the siding, but that's a substantial cost for a building of that size. And I suspect we probably won't be able to raise enough money fast enough to do that siding replacement. The windows would be next, probably within a year to a year and a half, followed by the roof, which would be 3 to 5 years out. In total, pushing $300,000. These are budgetary quotes that we've received. I've got a couple that are firm price quotes to date, but the bigger ones, the roof, et cetera, they won't give us a firm price for something that wouldn't happen for 3 years. But we've got budget quotes of that kind of nature. So again, it's a big ask. And I would like to add an amendment that while we hope to be successful in raising money from council today, we would also ask for a letter of recommendation from council in support of our other applications to various groups that we're going to be seeking funding from. So I would appreciate if we could get that support from the city. Thank you.
Thanks, John. And for the separate request, if you could just put that in writing, like a letter of support.
Yes.
And so that's a separate, other than what we're doing today, but we can certainly provide that letter of support for you. We've done it for various organizations, but that would be under separate cover. So if you send in a request, an official request advising what it's for, and then we can take care of that.
I'll take care of that right away, sir.
Thank you. Just a quick question, having been a member of the board of directors anyways of the previous owners of the building, I want to know the clarity is the ownership of the building. 133 McMillan, the address of the MAC, used to be jointly owned in between the art gallery as well as it was Parksville Community Living. Is that still in place where it was basically the art gallery had the upper floor, the community living had the bottom floor, but I note now that you have makerspace in your bottom floor. So I was just wondering what the relationship is to the whole owners of that building and property.
Yeah, thank you for that question, Mayor. You hit the nail on the head. Subject to a 1990 agreement that for $15,000, Inclusion Parksville and 15,000, the Oceanside Community Arts Council, we were able to purchase the building. And the agreement is quite comprehensive and they remain our partners. As time has evolved, the 35 years, Inclusion Parksville has, they have no need for the MAC building itself. We divided it up, upper half McMillan Arts Center, lower half Inclusion. Inclusion has facilities next, adjacent to the property, and they use that mainly. And I don't wish to speak for them, but they're looking for an upgrade and or new facilities that better suit their clientele and the services valuable services they provide the community. They haven't tentatively made an offer to us, as the agreement states, to purchase their half of the building. We're looking very seriously as an adjunct to our fundraising campaign to see if in fact, when we get serious about talking to them and what it is, what amount would be half the purchase price and how much could we raise towards that, how we could do that. So that's an ongoing part overall of the agreement that we have to pursue if we're going to take over. You mentioned the lower half currently, and they sublet it to Makerspace, which is an arts and crafts group, nonprofit group. That lease runs until, I believe, March or April 2026. And they're quite open if we would like to assume the lease and run the whole MAC as part of the Oceanside Community Arts Council, or continue as we go forward to rent it, to leave it sublet to Makerspace.
So as I understand it then, Inclusion now has the bottom floor and they sublease it out. Now do they share in the cost, the Inclusion in the cost, because usually what happens when it's a shared building, the building envelope and so forth becomes shared costs, which includes the windows and the roof and the painting of the exterior of the building type of thing. Do they participate in that at all, or how does that work?
Yeah, so the agreement specifies that we have a joint building committee and we meet monthly or close to monthly and discuss requirements for repair and maintenance, and the cost gets shared. Again, they're in a position that they don't use the facility, right. They don't need the facility, and they have all kinds of other costs associated with their ongoing services, and they would they find it very difficult to consider paying half the cost of replacing the roof or the windows. And so that's part of our ongoing discussion. Up to now, we've been very good partners and we've found ways to cost share for maintenance and repair. Going forward, that's going to be more and more an issue that we have to address through a purchase or fundraising.
So what I would expect is that there'd be some reluctance from the Inclusion and so forth to pay for needed repairs on and so forth, because like every community organization, they're struggling for funding as well for their needs also. So I could see that being a different situation that you're in at trying to raise funds from another one that's not particularly involved anymore in that building.
Yeah.
Okay, so that helps clear up anyways the different costing that you're looking at anyway. So what I heard today is that you're going for your annual costing increase from 5,000 to 7,500. And then you're looking at a donation towards the $300,000 fundraising, half, some, all, or whatever we can come up with would be appreciated, I'm sure, towards that fundraising goal. I know that your fundraising is ongoing, that you have on that. I've been watching it. And you've been very proactive. Jennifer and her team have done an amazing job by bringing in additional revenue by providing the box office services for various organizations. And from, I understand the reputation is so strong that other organizations besides Beach Fest and Lloyd Dairy are contacting your box office availability for ticket sales for their various other events that happen in the city, which is good for you as well by providing that professional service. So it's great that you're seeking ways to actually raise funds as well. And that's a good indication of a good community member. You're not just looking for handouts from the city and so forth. You're actually doing a lot to actually create funding for the many projects, very worthwhile projects that you have going. And I was particularly intrigued with the 75 plus. I think it was Artfully Aging program for 75 plus. I think that's an amazing service that you're providing. And thank you for that, because I know that there's many in our community that would certainly avail themselves of that service. And I think it's great that taking care of our elders as we should, and keeping them active in the community. So thank you for that. Councillor Martin, you had your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a wonderful facility, obviously used by so many people. It's tremendous what was shared with Jennifer. The idea of this project will be, and the letter is excellent, we can do that, of course, but would it be community supported too, with patrons to go towards the major fundraiser? I mean, you were asking for $19,000 for painting, isn't that initial?
Yes.
So from there will be other funds needed, but we don't need to make that decision today. Is that what you're thinking, or I don't know? Yeah.
Well, it's fine. We are undertaking a comprehensive fundraising campaign. We're going to be approaching, as I mentioned, other levels of government. BC Lotteries Corporation is one, and they have a capital funding program, but we're not eligible to apply for that until midway through next year in 2026. So our fundraising campaign is designed to go to all those sources. But as you point out, and clear and valuable, most valuable is our core group of local people, funders, sponsors, members who contribute and donate. So we'll be reaching out in a very public way with a number of activities, events, and to raise the fund.
Yeah, that's good, because I know the taxpayer who we're trying to, it costs all of us these costs being taxpayers, and then if we can have individuals that will give besides the taxpayer, that is a big ask from my perspective. I think it's excellent if you can do that. That'll be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gore, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank Jennifer and the OCAC team for the collaborative approach. I heard a lot of names of different organizations that you've been working with. So congratulations and thank you. And I apologize in advance if this question was previously brought up, but I think it was, but refresh my memory on this. Does the MAC has heritage building designation?
No, we don't.
So
I
what's
think sorry, Mary.
Yes.
No, my question is, like, have you explored that option? Because if it was, then there's potential funding federally and provincially for all these repairs and capital costs that you could utilize.
Yeah, I think we have done a bit of preliminary exploration of that, and there are some minuses as well as pluses to going that route to get an official heritage designation. And I think some of the negatives would impact the city of Parksville. We're obviously a building of high interest and to the city itself and to the residents of the city, but official heritage designation is another step, and we'd have to go. We're looking at it, but I think that the work preliminary, this work we've done is that we maybe want to hold off on that.
Yeah, and I could further comment on that. I was on the maintenance committee of 133 anyways, and so I recognize the fact what Councillor Gore is speaking of, and we looked at it as well. The designation itself, in short, was not worthy of the potential grants that you could get on it. And in fact, the grants were somewhat limited to what you could do because they had to be any work on the heritage building had to be done in a heritage fashion, which was considerably more expensive than to replace it with like-minded. So just in the case of, I know we looked at even at that time, we needed new windows in there. And we looked and said, well, if it was a heritage designation, there's only a certain type of windows that you could replace it with that looked like a heritage facade on it, and which was considerably more money. So instead of just replacing the windows to an energy non-leaking model, you had to go to the next level up. So it was looked at from the community living point of view anyways at that time when we were working with the art gallery, and it was just not considered feasible at that time.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah. Councillor Beal.
Yes, thank you. And my hesitation earlier was just that I'd missed one word when Councillor Gore asked his question. Yeah, I can appreciate that going for heritage status has both pluses and minuses. I happen to have a friend who has a heritage house, and it certainly comes with some serious limitations, which she embraces, but they can really add cost to what you're doing. But nonetheless, I certainly appreciate, and I think many people in our community appreciate the historic nature of the building. And it is on a heritage trail, a historic trail. It's got a little plaque in the front, and we don't have many of those in Parksville, within Parksville, and even, in the larger area. So I think it's very important to keep that in mind. Personally, I would hate to see it fall into such a state of disrepair that it really didn't have value. So it was great to hear that the OCAC, and I was aware that the organization had brought in some consultants to examine the building and give a report on the building. And that I know from attending meetings as a liaison that a lot of careful thought has gone into determining what needs to be done when and what is most pressing. And I see here that the ask for assistance for painting is in fact to cover, I believe, half of the actual cost that was put forward. I must say you're very, very, in some ways, minimalist there, because in my experience, there's usually a bit of a contingency. So I don't know how long that quote for 38,000 is, but I would have rounded it up to 40,000 if that's what it was and asked for half. But I appreciate the careful manner in which you're approaching this. And I also understand that there's a much larger fundraising plan that's been launched or is being launched, and that people can look forward to seeing many articles in the paper over time about the history of the building and all the events that take place there. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, let me just add to Councillor Beal's remarks. The review, the official review, where we hired a consultant to look at the building, we did that in partnership with Inclusion Parksville. Okay. That wasn't on our own, and it was a joint initiative, and they wanted to know exactly the state of the status of the building as well as our co-owners. So.
I would guess that that would be required for insurance purposes anyways.
Yeah.
Yes, it's got like, for replacement value of that suite building, I could understand that.
Yeah.
Good, yeah, that's forward thinking, so good for that. I also want to mention, I really appreciate the fact of the art race that was put on. Friend of ours anyways, participated with their cars and they thought it was a great event anyways. And we'll look forward to seeing it happen again, I hope.
Thank you.
So good on you for that. Any other questions, council, or comments for the art gallery at this point?
Let me just conclude by saying thank you very much to you, Mayor and Council, for your support over the years, but also to individual members of this council who come forward and demonstrated as volunteers. And I know Mary's one of her official roles is the liaison, but she does a lot more work and puts in a lot more time. And I've volunteered, I've worked with Councillor Gore volunteering and Councillor Martin is in the building and offering support in many ways. We really are truly a community endeavor and no small part. Your contributions are very, very valuable to us. Thank you.
Yeah, I must say council is very proud of the city that we represent. We really are. Thank you. I would thank you very much for all of your comments, and we'll call on the next delegation. Yeah, thank you so much. Council, our next organization is from the Parksville and District Historical Society. The annual funding increase from, I believe it's Nancy Martin. Is that correct? Yes, Nancy of the Parksville and District Historical Society regarding a request for increased annual funding. And I also noticed John Walters here too. So he's also here. So we got two for the price of one. Is that correct?
Indeed.
Sure.
Good deal. Okay, thank you and welcome. So this is for the Parksville Museum. Good to see you all. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, this is my first time at this table.
And you can pull the whole thing if you want, the whole
can?
block. Yep. No cords. There you go.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good afternoon, Your Worship, City Councilors. I'm Nancy Martin, President of the Parksville and District Historical Society, responsible for the Parksville Museum. And I'm joined by John Walters, my board colleague. Thank you for the invitation to present to you in person today. The Parksville Museum is fortunate to be located on city land known as Craig Heritage Park. And even though our rent is nominal, we believe the city is fortunate to have such a reputable tenant as the Parksville Museum. Not only do we take care of grounds and buildings that make up the museum, but we are currently ranked as number 6 on TripAdvisor's top 10 things to do in Parksville. Pursuant to our lease agreement with the city, we are essentially responsible for maintaining what is a city-owned public park. This includes assuming the operational expenses that are crucial for maintenance and improvements, keeping the site attractive, clean, safe, secure, and most importantly, welcoming for residents and tourists, a direct benefit to the community. If we weren't such a great tenant, the city would likely have to take on this responsibility. Maintaining the grounds looking as good as they do is financially challenging. This year, we're requesting an annual contribution indexed to inflation over 5 years to offset our operational costs for landscape and building maintenance, utilities, security, commercial and liability insurance with the city of Parksville as an additional insured. Therefore, we are requesting that the city budget an annual contribution of $58,000 starting in 2026 and indexed to inflation in future years. We researched and discovered that several of our colleague museums on Vancouver Island receive substantial municipal funding annually. At Council's request, we shared those findings with the city earlier this year. More recently, we compared the municipal funding received by museums in the communities of Qualicum Beach
and Sydney with that of Parksville. Each of the three communities has similar population size and demographics. And to this end, we think it's important to point out that Qualicum Beach and Sydney each donate over $100,000 annually to their respective community museums. We're seeking roughly half of what each of those museums receive. Why are we asking for additional funding now? As Parksville's only museum, we play a vital role in preserving the city's history and culture. We work very hard to raise money. However, we are compelled to request funding at this juncture. Our total operational expenses budgeted for 2025 are around $170,000, including the $58,000 we're requesting. Our projected revenues are just over $100,000. That leaves us with a potential shortfall of $70,000. Since our opening in May, we've welcomed 6,000 visitors. We're continuously enhancing our reputation. Our ranking is number 6 on TripAdvisor, and expanding on our successful annual events and planning additional events to attract further visitors to our site. But that's not all. We've hired a full-time manager on contract to create events that generate revenue, other programming and exhibits, attracting more people to experience our heritage village and enjoy our tranquil outdoor courtyard, a true gem in Parksville. Normally, the museum is closed for the winter, but this year we have remained open. The events that we have planned until the end of this year have so far been successful, and the direct result has been more visitors on site. Each one of our historic buildings reveals something interesting about the people and their lives in Parksville's past. They capture the essence of what life was like over the past 100 years, and visitors can see and feel it for themselves. Our permanent collection is filled with objects and archival items that have a lot of storytelling potential and great interpretive value. Our archives hold a treasury of 6,000 historic photos that are worth thousands of words. Each photo tells a story. Importantly, we recognize the need to reflect all stories and address more recent history through exhibits, and we should shift our focus from white settler history to include the telling of all stories, including those of minority groups in this community. We believe that by engaging with First Nations, we can ensure that their story is told. With the city's increased financial support, we can protect the public park where we're located, and increasing our annual funding to $58,000 for each of the next 5 years, we could offset our operational expenses, landscape and building maintenance, utilities, and insurance. This support would enable us to continue our 5-year strategic and exhibit plans, continue the work towards achieving our fundraising goal to restore our 115-year-old heritage church. We have raised nearly $20,000 already, and share more stories. I have 3 more paragraphs. Thank you. The museum eagerly anticipates welcoming return visitors and new visitors, including our future neighbors who will occupy the housing under construction nearby the museum. Parksville Museum exists to create an engaging, comfortable, and memorable experience for our visitors. The value-added benefit is that we are a proven and important cultural asset to the community. And as you know by now, we're ranked number 6 on TripAdvisor, and we're aiming to be number 1. So we would greatly appreciate your assistance in achieving this goal. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. John, do you want to say anything at this particular point, or?
I will just add one thing if we have a minute. When I was here last year, one of the services that we provide that I didn't talk about last year was the archiving. Yeah. It's the storing and the maintaining and the indexing. We have 2 virtually professional archivists who volunteer their time to do that. The city regularly requests information from the archives that we have for planning purposes and other reasons. As far as I know, we are the only source of really municipal archiving. And if the city took over that responsibility, which it almost would have to do at some level, that would be about 3/4 of the cost. If I just did a rough estimate on that in terms of the storage and the air quality and the staff time to do all of that stuff, about 3/4 of what we're asking for in this increase, just the archiving, not to mention all the other services that Nancy talked about here. So I did want to just emphasize a point that I negligently forgot to mention last time.
Good point, John. Yeah, good. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I have to say your grounds are incredible and your buildings, and we're talking about historical heritage buildings. You've got a lot of them on that site now that have been saved from the wrecking ball. And so I'm appreciative of that, but it's not just a matter of saving them, you have to maintain them. Those roofs are affected, like weathering and so forth on a regular basis. And so we recognize that you're protecting a very valuable asset, and thank you for that. Yes, we know what they say about history, so we appreciate it. So thank you for that. I got to go to questions to the council now. Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you both for your presentation. Of course, I'm the liaison, so I know what goes on, but yeah, I really enjoy it. But I had 2 incidents this year, just myself. I had the archives. I wanted to find out about a particular family, so I contacted and I had an appointment and I went in there and I had 2 files, very thick, on one particular family. I won't mention the name because I had to find something, and it was all there. It was amazing, and that was very much appreciated. I also had a family visiting, and their little ones went through the buildings and everything, and they were so excited about the school. They thought, this is the way it was, and this is the kind of things that are part of our community and people who visit. So I think, these are small things, but it's a big thing if you think about it, the repercussions of education and the whole thing with the children even. So anyway, I thought I'd pass that on. It's no question. I know what's going on.
Other questions or comments for the delegation? Councilor Gore, go ahead.
Thank you. And thank you to Ms. Martin for coming before us. You touched on your efforts for reconciliation. I was wondering if you looked at any funding opportunities, like through any reconciliation action grants or any federal funding for those?
We would, of course. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. It's been a long afternoon for everybody. Yeah.
Oh, this is short, believe me.
Thank you for.
We're usually here till midnight. We sleep here, Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is our family.
If I could just point out one other thing, Your Worship, to your idea about resource sharing with the chamber, given our proximity. The shortfall that we have is almost coincidentally the cost of our staff person, the one staff person that we have paid on the facility. So if you were thinking of cross-pollination or somehow coordinating staff, we have one body on the grounds with our budget. We have students in there come sometimes through through other government programs in the summer and that sort of thing. But if we had more revenue, we could have more bodies there and entertain those kind of ideas more often.
Right. So speaking of that, John, your staff member that you have there, it used to be a seasonal position. That was a paid staff member. Is that now a year-round position, or what is it?
It used to be what?
Seasonal?
Oh,
yeah.
Yes, that's correct. But we bit the bullet and decided to hire somebody on contract for the completion, like since we opened earlier this year, right through the end of this year, all the way through 2026.
Right.
So
So what you're suggesting that the bulk of the ask, the 58,000, is regarding the to pay for the fact that you've now got like a full-time
well,
a contract employee. Yeah.
Yeah, we actually, most of what we're asking is for operations.
Is it? Okay.
So of course, a staff position would be part of operations, but we do get some funding from BC Gaming. So we're kind of counting on that for this coming year. So some of that would go towards the staffing position.
Do you get any funding from the RDN?
No. Oh, well, that's not true. Yeah, sorry. You're right, John. We have applied for a couple of grants from them over time, but nothing on an annual basis.
I would encourage you to do so, continue, because you are providing services for the RDN as well.
Yes.
Very much so.
Yes.
So
Good advice.
I would suggest you continue to apply for grants.
I know that we
from
put
the
a grant and aid application in, and I think we might have actually got a very small contribution to one program. I'd have to look at that, but it was very small. And
yeah. There's a couple of different mechanisms for the grants through the RDN, and you could go to their website, which they have a very good website for what may apply. And I think that you could probably find something that you could apply for that would help for maybe the maintenance of your buildings or something like that, or like, I know you were looking for roofing and stuff like that, and I know you got sponsorship from the Mosaic display that you have there as well. And that was a good move as well, but
That was a one-off, basically.
yes,
for that
that's
one.
right. That was like a sponsorship for that display. Yes.
I would say that I would defer these questions to our virtually professional grant and aid writer that we have, our past president, who spends almost full time writing these applications.
Right.
And I know the RDN has been included in that.
Okay, good.
Again, we had to, and we reiterated in correspondence this year that we're really looking to become, like any other asset, a line item in the budget at half the cost of the average of the municipalities around us. And we hope that the information we provided to council was helpful in that regard. We did try to take our most adjacent municipalities for that exercise, and I'm sure we had those numbers vetted by staff. They wouldn't just take those at face value. And that we never received any feedback that there was something out of line with the research that we did. So we're hoping that that was informative for council.
Right. Well, yeah, just trying to recognize that there's other means of funds from other participating members of our community, which, as you know, our boundaries of Parksville is stops and starts and so forth. And so, but many other people, that's why the RDN is one of the best funders, because they cover all of the RDN group area, which is considerable. Many people think they live in Parksville, but they do not pay taxes in Parksville. If they have a mailing list or mailing address as in Parksville, but in recognizing our revenue, as you know, is only from property taxes by Parksville living citizens. So the thing is that you're providing services for a lot more than people that are actually paying taxes in Parksville. So I'm just saying that use those resources anyways to help you with it. I understand what you're suggesting for the city of Parksville, which we will be considering absolutely. But at the same time, continue to seek others where, to get a more equitable funding from other partners in our area. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. Councilor Martin, go ahead.
I know, I just come up with so many things because I've been involved with the museum long before I was a city councillor, so I have a little bit of an idea. I forgot, and it wasn't mentioned. And Beach Fest is an amazing event. And they have community, and I was here when they gave out the funds. This board, our volunteers, the museum sent volunteers to help. They were able to do that to help with Beach Fest, and they shared in the profits too. Because I was here for the check presentation where Councillor Beal and myself were here. And I believe they got about $3,000 for the hours that they spent. Right. There was many, many charities that were shared, and it wasn't mentioned today by Beach Fest either. So that was one of the things that they got in there and they put the time in. So I thought, this is excellent, and I think we need to know about these things.
That's
okay,
right.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the Historical Society, but the museum, the Parksville Museum? Other questions or comments? Okay. Thanks so much, Nancy and John. Thank you. Yeah, we'll see you again soon. Thank you. Oh my gosh, does this mean we've been saving the best till last? Just saying. Our last presentation is from the Parksville Downtown Business Association regarding REDIP funding request. A presentation by Teresa Cooper regarding a funding request. And with her today is Tammy. So once again, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have 5 minutes and we'll start the clock.
In 2 minutes.
I already sold off that other 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Like Jen said, I'm going to read because I won't get distracted and go off on a tangent.
Okay, here you go. Go ahead, Teresa.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor O'Brien. We're grateful for this opportunity today to present to Council our final findings of the Reimagine Parksville Downtown project and update you on our next steps.
I'm fired already.
Nope.
There we go. Is that it?
You did it. We received the final Reimagine Parksville Downtown report earlier this summer, and after reviewing it with our steering committee and our board of directors, we developed an implementation plan to guide downtown rejuvenation over the next 6 years. From there, we identified which tactics would have the greatest immediate impact and which would serve as the foundation for future phases. Across every engagement session, one message was consistent. Our downtown needs to feel more inviting, colorful, and alive. As a result, phase 1 focuses on the rejuvenation of building facades and the addition of basic accessibility improvements. We believe that improving the look and feel of downtown will set the stage for the broader revitalized efforts that follow. We have submitted a follow-up grant to the REDIP program of the province of BC in hopes of receiving funding for implementation of phase 1. This first phase project will provide matching grants of up to $10,000 for business facade and accessibility improvements, with participating businesses or property owners contributing 25%. This brings the maximum project value to $12,500 per property. All businesses within the Parksville Downtown BIA catchment area will be eligible to apply. However, we're prioritizing Craig Street and Morrison Avenue, where visual improvements will have the greatest economic and visual impact. To encourage early participation in these high-impact areas, we're offering an additional $1,000 incentive for projects located on either of those two streets. Eligible improvements include front-facing painting, new awnings, signage, patios, murals, and minor decorative construction, all focused on creating a more welcoming, vibrant downtown experience. A project review committee will oversee the program, finalize the eligibility criteria, and review applications to ensure each project meets design standards, accessibility goals, and aligns with the overall community vision for Parksville Downtown. With this project, we've also included funding for placemaking, which simply means creating public spaces that bring people together and make downtowns more lively, welcoming, and connected. In small cities like Parksville, placemaking has a big impact. It helps build community pride, supports local businesses, and encourages people to spend more time downtown. One of the requirements for the grant is that 20% of the grant be contribution from the applicant. Parksville Downtown is contributing $69,000 in kind and $20,000 in cash towards placemaking. We're here today to request that the City of Parksville match this cash contribution with an additional $20,000, which can be either a gift in kind contribution or a cash contribution, and will bring the total to $40,000. With this combined investment, we'll be able to apply for additional funding to leverage our $40,000 into $80,000, amplifying the impact and reach of this work. Potential placemaking projects could include recognizing a section of downtown as the Downtown Arts and Entertainment District, creating a temporary pedestrian-friendly zone on Morrison Avenue for events and markets, developing small gathering places such as a busking corner at Hearst and Craig, or a refreshed mini park at the intersection of Morrison, Alberni, and the Island Highway, which I call the Clock Park. I don't know what it's really called. These small but visible improvements will help bring vibrancy, color, and excitement to Parksville Downtown and strengthen its identity as the heart of our community. When we were last in front of council, we shared this screen with you outlining what we heard from our community. a clear desire for a downtown that feels more welcoming, colorful, and alive. We've taken that feedback to heart and turned it into a realistic, phased plan for action. Your matching contribution of $20,000 brings $80,000 to our downtown by unlocking that additional grant funding and multiplying our impact. Next one. By working in partnership, we can take this meaningful first step toward a downtown that's vibrant, inclusive, and unmistakably Parksville, a downtown we can all be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you. Almost made it, Teresa. That's good. Thank you. Questions for from council? Go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead, Mary, and keep on talking. I can
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Thanks very much. Thanks, Teresa, and hello, Tammy. I have a number of questions. When I was reading through it, I was, really pleased to see the reference to the idea of having some cohesion with regards to, and I imagine this would be around whether it be awnings or colors connecting it, something. So not so that it's all look alike, but something that pulls it together.
There will be design guidelines developed, and that will make certain that we have not a consistency cookie cutter look, but a theme that carries on through all of the improvements.
Yeah, I think that visually that would be really inviting, and yes, I do have a couple of questions though, and yes, right. I was very pleased to hear that the request for the 20,000 could include some of that being in kind, and immediately thinking about the clock area where the sequoia has recently come down, that we will be needing to do something there. So perhaps it could be a win-win situation. But a question I have about the buildings and the businesses is, do you have any indication as to how much buy-in there would actually be? And if I may say that there have been facade incentives for facade refresh, renewal for years now. But given that many of the businesses do not actually own the buildings, that there may not be interest on the part of the building owners to actually do something. So I'm just wondering how you reconcile that, or if that has been solved.
That's a really good question, Mary. Thank you. The option is for either the property owner to do it his or herself, or to allow the business owner to do it. Our preference is for the property owner to do it. And in my last newsletter that I put out just a few weeks ago, I put a little bit at the end to property owners to say, if you're thinking of making improvements on your property, you might want to hold off till the end of February until we find out if we get this funding. And I now have 12 to 15 people on the list of people who are ready to apply in March if we're so lucky to get the funding. Like you, I wanted to be able to make sure that I wasn't putting all this effort into something where there was no interest. And I also wanted to prove to the Reddit people that we had the interest. So yes, I'm very encouraged by that quick response in short time.
I think we can do up to 30.
From the budget, we're looking, it depends, if you take the full amount, we can do about 30 to 32 buildings, but there will be some buildings. I walked through and looked at every building in the downtown area and then put them on a scale of 1 to 5 in terms of need. And there are 30, if all 30 of the highest need agreed to do it, that's 30, and that's the 30 that we gauge that on. But not all of them will. So that will allow some other businesses to do things that where maybe it's not going to require the full 10,000. So it may, fingers crossed, could be more than 32.
Go ahead.
I believe that earlier you said this was the final step in a plan. So does that mean it's a final ask for a significant fund?
No.
Fix your plan in a minute.
Yeah, sorry. It's the final for our first project that we did where we got the funding to do the community engagement. And so this comes from our final report of that. However, there are 3 other phases, but rest assured, the contribution from the city will not be at the level that this one is, because it will be more working to create an entrepreneurship program, perhaps finding low-cost options for new startups like we've seen in Langford and in Campbell River and many other communities. So I think a lot of that ask will be permission more than financial. Yeah. Okay. I don't want to get to the point where you run when you see me coming.
Councillor Gore, you had your hand up.
Yes, Mayor. Thank you, Tammy and Teresa. I was wondering, the BIA that is collected, is that the portion that PDBA will be using for this project?
Do you mean our annual levy?
Yes.
Yeah. Just a small portion of it, Councillor Gore, because that we also have a lot of other commitments to our property owners and business owners for beautification and advocacy, marketing, the events that we do in the summer to try to bring people to downtown. So there is a small bit carved out for this project, the $20,000 cash, but the continual annual projects that we do to improve business for our members won't truly be that affected.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Grimes, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Tammy and Teresa, for coming today and for your presentation and all the work you've been doing on the Imagine Parksville. Very exciting to see how this is evolving and all the great ideas that are coming along. My question is for you, but maybe also for staff, how the Imagine Parksville plan dovetails with the upcoming OCP updates. So I don't know who wants to tackle that one, but I'm curious how those connect.
I will just say that Kiva and I have had these conversations and that we definitely will have a presence at the OCP meetings.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Through the Mayor, there isn't really anything more really to say on that. We're bringing something to council in December to scope out what your priorities are on the OCP process. So I think we'll have a better sense then of what everybody else's role is going to be. But we have always had great participation from the PDBA and any of the planning things we do. And staff have been working with Teresa on this grant application in quite a bit of depth, just to make sure that there's no issues or permit barriers or anything like that. And if there are, we've dealt with kind of a process to move it forward. So yeah, I think that's probably the best answer I can give at this point until we get more direction from you on where that focus is going to be for the OCP.
Yeah, thank you. And one thing that came to mind on that is that there is some form and character guidance within the OCP. And so presumably that's something that's being considered when you're doing the facade upgrades.
We had Blaine, the Director of Planning, on our steering committee, and he did his job very well. And we hope that for him to be able to participate in some way on the review committee for this project, so that we make sure that whatever we're approving for our guidelines match with what the city's desire is.
That all sounds amazing. Thank you.
Councilor Martin, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I mean, I'm involved, obviously, being the liaison, and I appreciate, Teresa, for you grabbing this and running with it, because it is a big deal, and it's a big deal for our community, and we need to embrace it. So thank you, Teresa, and also Tammy for supporting her. So thanks again. Yeah, I'm there. Yeah.
Forgive me for asking a question that's already asked. You mentioned, Teresa, the 20,000 cash or in-kind donation. What does the in-kind donation look like?
It could be something like the work that's going to be done on a park or providing the barriers for street closures,
I see.
that sort of thing.
Right.
Mhm. Doesn't have to be a check for $20,000.
Thank you. Okay, so because there's some consideration, your visionary approach with Morrison Avenue, you know, like turning that into an art walk or whatever it is, that just coincides with the fact that a dangerous tree was removed and but it's like open up avenues for other projects in that area. So I'm just wondering if that's something that maybe as the city, you know, is planning on doing, and I know that you're a very big part of the stakeholder advice and suggestions on that, and with our very able staff that we have too. So I'm thinking something like that, it's, you know, would make the art walk area even more successful.
Yes.
I love the idea. Yeah, so let's get that right out right now. But I think that we've CEO Kaler and myself have had discussions already with staff of possibilities of what that could look like and what, you know, where we can take it. And, you know, it's just timing when the tree came down, said, well, what are we going to do with that? What that space we needed. It's a very valuable space that's definitely underutilized in a good way. And so, yeah, I am looking forward to good things happening in that area too. So great. And
May I
that's all
just-
part of your visionary.
Yes. May I just add one more thing, just for clarity? If we don't get the funding from REDA, I am still committed to carrying through with the grant for the $80,000 for placemaking, which is the 20,000 in kind and our 20,000 to get 80,000. So that will happen regardless, but I'm just crossing my fingers that it's a bigger project.
Right, in case you were not successful.
Yes.
Yeah,
Considering, because that's, you know how much work she's put into doing all these grants.
I know. She did,
We get it.
did pretty good on the last one. That's all I
Yeah,
can say.
yeah,
And it was
exactly.
worth it, what, in the end, I can
Yes.
say, your project, yeah.
Mhm.
So that's great. Other comments or questions for our delegation today? Everybody? Saying none? You just got in on the last minute. Go ahead, Councillor Beal, go for it.
Hi, just to clarify, and also with this application and with this $20,000 request, again, it should not go in though until there is a date there that it would need to be after February or whatever the date is for submitting the request, correct? So if we were going to make any improvements in it and they might be part of this,
Yes.
we'll want to plan for that to take place, you know, effective or beyond. Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? Seeing none, thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Sorry you had to wait for the very end, but you know.
I learned a lot today.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and it's really great to watch other community organizations, you know, with the requests. But it plus also gives everybody else perspective that there's a large contingent for funding from the city of Parksville and, you know, recognizing the responsibility of the city, you know, to do it within our very limited amount of resources, which is the Parksville taxpayers, which of course we are also considering, you know, not putting unnecessary burden on them as well. But at the same time, creating the community that's worthy of living in, and which means supporting our community groups. And because we recognize that a lot of these community groups are run by volunteers and very dedicated people in our community, which is what is made Parksville the special place that it is. It
Well,
really
that's
is.
why we really try to do our part, like in the downtown part, doing all the, you know, a lot of the beautification and trying to. And I think, well, especially this lovely lady here has done an amazing job.
Yeah, and
I think she's
and-
done since she's came to the organization.
And I have to comment, you know, because I drive by and I walk through the downtown, as you know, all the time. I'm always waving at Teresa when she's out there and I'm checking out what her playlist is of the moment, you know. So I have to admit to kind of doing a little dance as I'm going by there sometimes. Sometimes it really picks on, not so much on the hip hop, but you know, the rest of it, pretty good. But what I also notice is that what puts us back into the small town feel of downtown, which is what we're really trying to create, a welcoming small town village atmosphere, so forth. And I see Teresa out there on a daily basis, quite frankly, and she's got a broom in her hands. And she's just sweeping up, whether it's just leaves that are blown over, just, you know, other people's, she's got a broom in her hands. And that was exactly what the small towns used to do. It was the storekeepers, the shopkeepers, the doctors, the lawyers, and everything else. They would always make sure that their storefront was presentable and clear. It was their responsibility. They didn't expect the city to come along and do this and everything. So I'm grateful for that, Teresa, that you did it. I saw it at another establishment outside of the PDBA and the BIA, and they were out there sweeping, and I thought, wow, they probably watched you and were inspired.
If I'm
But
setting an example, that's good.
well, we'll take it. But I have to say that is exactly the type of recognition for a beautiful city and a safe downtown area, all of our businesses, safe and secure area that people can feel welcomed and safe at all times of the day. And I think that that's really by keeping your grounds up, by keeping your properties kept in good order, I think it prevents a lot of the deterioration of downtown cores that we see at many surrounding communities. So that's a big step in it. So it's a small step, but if everybody does that small step, I think we're all going to have a better community. But I just have to recognize the fact that you see that right away. So thank you. And for the rest of council, thank you for everything you do.
Thank you.
I don't see anything anymore. I'm looking around. You can leave or whatever. Well, you ought to stick around because you know it's always exciting. I can say, council, we've had a lot of presentations today. Is there anything else you'd like to discuss now before we call for a motion to adjourn? Anything that, did I miss anything as the chair or anything else that we should conclude at this time? Are you all comfortable with where we're at right now so that we can make our final deliberations? Because our staff are here and they were taking notes of anything that happened today. Maybe you're unclear of anything, so ask them now because the next thing is for us to sign on the dotted line for the commitments in our financial plan. Councilor Martin, you had your hand up. Go ahead.
There's no, that was.
Oh, no, sorry, that was the very first thing.
And that was what we were taking off.
Yeah, to the amendment to the,
Okay.
yeah. And so that's coming up November 17th. And that would be a committee of the whole, and our hope is that transportation master plan is on that. It goes into committee of the whole type of thing. So once again, we have the opportunity to be totally transparent and engage with our community. If any community members come, they can come in community as a whole like we are here, and we can do this conversation. So I'm hoping that that's what could happen once the public realizes that November 17th is the day. So it makes it more advantageous to have it in a regular council meeting. Any other further? So I see no other questions. I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn. Go. Councillor Beal moved and Councillor Grenz seconded. All those in favor? That was adjournment for both committee and council meeting. Thank you. So